Now, say my name.
Heisenberg.
You're goddamn right.
People say I beat up too much on the little ladies. Maybe can beat up on some guys today. We're gonna hold everybody. We're gonna hold women accountable. We gotta hold everybody accountable, right? You think you're a Sigma? I keep seeing this all the time. I have Ryan Stone waiting in the wings. It's good to be back. It's good to be back in the chair again after 2 long weeks. Too many people asking me, I'm a Sigma. What's a Sigma, Rollo? Where'd it come from? You're not a Sigma. You're a sociopath. You're just messed up in the head.
That was a high value. We always talk about it's a high value net, right? Money, the congruency, let's just say, of money, muscles, and game, and that creates the world into which that woman wants to enter into. I want to be associated with this guy because he's on point with all of that money, muscles, and game. If you're deficient in one area, you will tend to gross out in another area. So if you say, well, I got no money and I got no job, but man, I'm jacked and juicy as fuck, right? That right there is where you're going to gross out when it comes to like looks maxing, right? Chase all three. Because if you don't, and you are deficient in one area, that will be the area in which you are the most. That's your vulnerability. That's your Achilles heel. So,
I say alpha. Like people keep saying, "Oh, you guys think you're alphas? You guys are like silverback gorillas or wolves in the Arctic tundra or something." No, that's not what alpha means. Okay, it's not about like this analytical animal kingdom definition of it. It is an abstract term so that we can use that to get onto other topics so that we can say, okay, there's a high value. You want to call it high value man? Fine. You want to call it an alpha? Fine. Whatever it is, there are guys who have better value, higher value than lesser men.
Woo! How's that for an introduction there, Ryan? Yeah, there you go. Oh, are we putting on? Damn it! I got my off whites are over here. I should have brought them. I can't wear dark glasses when I'm doing the show because it screws with my vision.
Oh, dude, yeah. Once you get polarized, it screws up. Actually, I'm terrified because there's always a reflection there, and I'm worried there's going to be like a dick or something on the back. It's typical internet, right?
Yep. Oh. It's funny is I have what did you put up? You put up something about like how like masks are a flex right now on Twitter this morning. Of course, if you're gonna mention something like that, I got to throw Cobra Commander at you.
Dude, I loved that. I was like, thank God. Toronto's weird that way. I don't understand it.
Shields. I have one of those face shields that's like the complete mirrored like Cobra Commander mask.
Yeah, AliExpress had them on sale, so I bought one too. And it like a pair of sunglasses, you put it on the front. I'm like, I gotta get the rest of it. What's left? The balaclava, and then you get the bicycle helmet, and then you got. I know, and that's all you really need. Just paint it blue, and you're good to go, right? Nice.
Oh man, so how are we doing? I'm happy to be back. I'm glad I'm finally back in the saddle again. It's weird for me to be away from this show for like 2 weeks on end, but I'm hoping like people will follow me to like Fresh and Fit or to Adam Sosnick's show. I try to share those those upcoming shows, and people go, "Oh man, he's been gone for 2 weeks. What's wrong? What happened to him?"
Oh, the Sosnick. That's the SOS cast one.
Saucecast, yeah.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, actually,
I was trying to figure out what does that stand for? I don't even know.
The second clip that I just played, that was from Saucecast 2 or 3 shows ago, and then the other one was from Fresh and Fit when I was on there with Jonathan and let's see, Troy was on there and a bunch of other people.
I saw that everybody's wearing blazers. Are we back to like blazers and cigars on chairs again, or because I got the leather chair, I can do that.
What's funny is I don't know how I figured this out, but I went and threw a I just threw on like just a regular shirt because I'm like I'm gonna be freezing my ass off there because it's usually very, very cold in there, and the day before days before that I was was doing a show and I had to wear a long sleeve shirt because it was just so cold in there. You want to know why Myron always wears like a hoodie in the in the studio? It's because it's freezing ass cold in there because they have to keep it cool to keep all the hardware cooled down. And
is that like a euphemism for the White Claws, or?
Yeah, yeah. I have no idea, but it's always very cold in there. So when people go, "Wow, why is Rollo's body language so tight? Is he nervous?" Like, no, my dick off.
Yeah. $5 super chat waiting for him. That's going to career end. That Jack Murphy guy.
Exactly. Oh Jesus.
Oh, you poor thing, dude. I just go outside. I was like sunshine the last couple of days. It's awesome. Although my hair, it just turns into like just the air from the Great Lakes. It's like an ocean. I love it. It's a little scraggly, but whatever.
You know, I'll tell you what's interesting. When we were, talking about this on Rule Zero yesterday, I think a lot of people think that if we don't like do the show for like a couple of weeks or something, that like suddenly we're like, there's beef. Fighting. Like we don't have we have our own show. We have other things that we have to do. I feel bad. By the way, if you follow me, if you are a Twitter subscriber or not a Patreon subscriber, and you're in my Zoom, my collective Zoom, I'm going to do that on Tuesday. I'm sorry I could not get to. I've just been so slammed for the last like really 3 weeks. So I will be doing that on Tuesday. So don't fret. We're going to get to it this week. I promise you. It's already on the book. So the announcement will go out soon.
Got to lean it on the grief though. It's like, what's your problem with him? It's like, oh, he knows what he did. Let that simmer with the audience for a while. Mm-hmm. Then we get back together on, Rule Zero. And we have that eyeballing each other like there's beef, and everybody's like trying to figure it out.
Yeah, no, we're just messing with each other. That's how we roll. Okay.
We should do it more because Clary and John, they're savage, and we've seen so tame in comparison.
Aaron Clary got more plugs on Fresh and Fit than I think I've ever heard in one show combined. Alex, hi Rollo, I need your help. How do I book a one-on-one call with you? Alex, I will get back. I have not been able to get to my emails all that much this week because I've been just sort of playing catch up since I got back on. Well, technically I wasn't even in here until Tuesday. So I will get with you. Sorry about the 200. Sorry about the Patreon thing. Yeah, don't worry about it. Alex, if you've emailed me or if you haven't emailed me, just email me at rtrationalmail@gmail.com, and then make sure you put counseling in the subject line, and then I will get back to you. I promise. Thank you for the question, because everybody asks about that too. So let's just, Aaron definitely got roasted several times, but Clary pushes back. I think a lot of people think that like everybody gives him grief. Even on Masculine Geek, we give him grief too. So it's like, that's just how we do it. So but he's a good dude.
Yeah.
Everybody knows. I did one cover for him. Hotep Jesus, I did 2 covers for his books.
Well, that's good because Cappy's covers are just dog shit, man.
I know. Well, I think
Times New Roman on a black background. We're like, come on, dude.
But you know what? You do pay attention to it. I will say that. You will pay attention. It's like, God, this is so bad. I just wanted to look at it. So, had a great time. Had a great time in Miami. Thank you for asking, everybody. If you want to go and see what I did for the last week, you can go look at probably the last several Fresh and Fit. I kind of helped stage manage the last Sosnick show with Coco and Real Femme Sapien, Allie and Pearl. And then prior to that, I had Torsha on with myself and Justin Waller. That was actually an epic show, I think. And I'm going to be back there I'm going to be in Miami the last weekend of June. So if anybody wants to say, oh, when are you going to do a book signing? I will be in Miami doing The Rebel Capitalist, and I'm going to be doing a workshop at that event, which will be on the very first day of the event. And I'll probably do a 2-hour workshop while I'm there. I'm not actually speaking at the event. I already did one at the Collective, which is his private community one. But Rebel Capitalist, I will be there. Kiyosaki will be there. All the financial guys will be there. So I will probably, well, I know I will go on Adam Sosnick's show again. Maybe if I can make a trip up to Fresh and Fit, I'll probably go up there too as well. So That's
those
coming
boys,
up.
those boys
Yes.
are making all kinds of cash off
They
that.
are, and I wanted to point that out before we get started here. Is like if I seem like I'm like sort of out of breath all the time, it's because I have been going and just I flew from Reno to Vegas, from Vegas to Dallas, from Dallas to Miami, from Miami. Technically, I spent about 10 hours in the Denver airport on my switch over so I could get to my hour and a half flight back to Reno. So I've been all over the place.
You're getting milked like a cow. I think you gotta take some me time.
That's a topic for another show, by the way. Yes. Yeah.
That's the problem. You're too kind. You're helping everybody out. You don't help yourself.
I have 2 invites. Well, technically 3. I've got 2 invites right now. One is to go to Brazil in October for a conference, not a conference of masculine excellence, but a men's. For whatever reason, the red pill is a big deal in Brazil. And if you guys are familiar with in fact, I had the guy on, the guy who runs Macho Toxico. I had him on almost a year ago. And so we've kept in touch, and I think these are his guys that have been hitting me up. So they're going to fly me out there. They're actually going to give me $1,000 to speak there too. So I'm like, okay.
Oh, that's nice of them.
Yeah. And then I also did a show with Andrew Kibe, which was in Dallas about 2 weeks ago now. And he is a huge kind of red pill-ish, let's just say, podcaster out of Kenya who made a long trip up from wherever he was in Texas to Frisco, Texas, which is where I was doing the collective. And we did an in-room interview. That's on his channel. I have some clips of that already, so you guys can go check that out. But at the end of that show, I got an invite to go to Kenya. So now I go into Brazil. It's like the Rollo Tomasi World Tour for 2022. And so I told him yes, I'll do it. So
that'd be fun. I think there's surfing down there too that you can go on. I had a friend who used to go down there every now and again.
Yeah.
But it's funny, we're carving up the dark continent. You have your Nigeria and Kenyan audience, and I apparently have a decent sized South American, and I always get the name of it wrong, Zambian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's East Africa. It's what is it? I want to say Uganda, Kenya, and Zimbabwe. I think
so.
I think that's the thing. This is great.
Maybe Somalia will get in there too. I mean, they can use some help.
Jalen Isla says, "I'm a Sigma, and you're a Sigma. We're all Sigmas. Wouldn't you like to be a Sigma too?"
He's gonna love where we're going with this.
I can't help but laugh anytime a man identifies as a Sigma male. Yeah. Well, that's actually a good segue into today's topic here. The reason why I wanted to do this, and I think I don't know if you and I have done this together. I have done shows before on sociosexual hierarchies. And as I have said a million times, I have been in this business for now over 20 years. And things come in cycles. And now it seems like we're back on this Sigma male thing once again. And I think maybe it's kind of popular because it's kind of
feeds the fantasy.
Well, it is. That's definitely part of it. I also when I'm looking at the guys who are. I'm gonna show you some really funny clips here today. But when I look at when I was doing the homework for today's topic, I have to go and look and see what other people are doing. So I've got some videos here that I think are just they're kind of laughable because there's this presumption that people know what a Sigma is. And they don't even really know where sociosexual hierarchies come from. And really that was originated with a blogger and I guess he's a YouTuber still, but Vox Day.
Reactionary, I think is what.
Yes,
neo-reactionary
would be better.
That's the one.
Yeah. I'll tell you what's funny is I remember in the early days, in the golden era of sort of seduction and communion.
The blog roll days.
The blog days, right? Vox was a really big deal. He still kind of is a big deal, I think. But he's just sort of, does what he does now. And I think he leaned into sort of the religious stuff before it was cool, right? I mean, he's always been kind of like that. But now I think he's doing that more.
Well, I think the problem was the kind of people he got in bed with ended up being just clowns. And then when Richard Spencer did his weird stuff and all those guys, it kind of was he was the one guy left and he's going, well, that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Oops.
Now he used to have I had several blogs, and one of those was sort of a red pill blog, which actually was pretty popular.
Was that his Alpha Male Game?
Alpha Male Game, I think is what it was called. And it was actually a very good blog, and he had a lot of good stuff on there. One of the things he dropped at that time was sociosexual hierarchy. So he wrote about it, and then he ended up he's got 2 channels, or he's got like separations on the same channel, and one of them is just his main channel, which I believe is called the if it's still around, I think it is, but it's the dark stream is what he calls it. He does like a streaming thing, and then he also has Voxversity or Vox University, Voxversity, and that's where you'll find what I'm going to get into today, which is the origination of the sociosexual hierarchies. Now, one thing that people always ask me about, what did he say? Did Hotep dropped
Hotep on.
Did he? I haven't seen that yet. I've only seen the clips of that. I haven't watched the whole thing when Hotep was on there. But now that I'm back, I probably will. But all that kind of went down right before I was about to leave. But Vox really he analyzed this and sort of broke this down into like categories. And you probably already know how I feel about categorization of guys, right? Or of anything.
Like it's botany. Yeah.
Well, like I can't
pinpricks of like a bunch of bugs on the walls. What's that one? The bug one?
It's hard. Yeah, exactly. Etymology, right? Is that what it is?
That's the one. I always get that mixed up with entomology in the words.
Etymology. One of those is birds and one of those is insects.
Yeah.
And I don't know
but I agree. It's the same problem that David Clare and Franco had with practical female psychology. Mm-hmm. It's that they take a snapshot assessment and they try to make it longitudinal. Mm-hmm. So you think of alpha. Alpha is like a situational thing. Beta is a situational, and we can get into those. But and then people start to assume, oh, that's who you are. That's who your identity is, and that's really a form of narcissistic fuel that people are using. And so it doesn't even really matter what the terms are, as long as you can feel like a Superman, and then you can make sure everybody. That's why everybody has to tell you they're alpha males all the time, because they need you to feed that narcissistic fueling. And then if you shatter that image. Hence, like, when I got Tate to shit on me because I thought all of his things was bullshit, it causes a narcissistic rage.
Wow,
and
here we go.
It's like,
we're 16 minutes in. Here we go.
And it's just crazy. Like, I just had Dr. David Lay. He's a clinical psychologist. He's not woke or any of that like Sean Smith crap, but he's like good. And he noticed it too. He's like, yeah, everything is about somebody will manufacture some identity where everything around you is an archetype. Like, you're not Rollo Tomasi, like a friend of mine. You're my rock star friend, or that's the goofy friend, or this chick is the hot 8 out of 10. And then once they become symbols, you got to dehumanize them, and then everybody has to reinforce this. That's why you have the giant ego. And then the first guy to crush this house of cards down, that's when the guy gets into a van and decides to run through downtown Toronto looking for women, if you know what I mean. Yep. So now, like, Minnesand joke for those of you who aren't in Canada and don't know it. But that's my problem, is because when he does this botany thing, when he's just like, yeah, alpha is men that have these qualities and these qualities, then some guy's going to be like, I want those qualities, and they're always vague.
How do I get them?
Yeah, they're like fungible too. You ever notice that? He's always like the life of the party. It's like, what does that even fucking mean?
Yeah,
goes to the party, everybody thinks he's awesome. It's like everybody's worried about how awesome they are.
I think a lot of people, like, when and maybe I'm guilty of this too, but like when I was writing the Player's Handbook, which, by the way, is available on Amazon. Go get it right now. And yes, the Audible is coming out at the end of June. Okay, there's your answer. It's coming out at the end of June. Trey has it. He's doing the read right now. But there's a section in there where I talk about the art of the AMOG. And yes, that came from a blog post that I repurposed for this because I thought it was important enough
AMOG
to put
is
it
classic,
in a book about game. Thank you very much. Okay, you got me. But in that essay, I think a lot of people can relate with like sort of the AMOGing of, like, say, I used the example of Wolf of Wall Street, when Leonardo DiCaprio swoops in, and I can't remember the character's name, but he gets Margot Robbie's character away from the other rich guy, and it's like, hey, have you ever been on a jet ski? Comes in there and like just basically swoops in, and then that's when he basically AMOGs this guy, takes his woman, and that sort of starts that part of the plot for the movie, right? And so people look at that and they go, well, that's an alpha. Right, that guy's an alpha male. He had the balls to go and do that, and that's he can go and take care of business, and then he's also going to be able to steal your woman, right? And I look at that, and you've probably heard me explain this before, because I think a lot of people. Thank you for that, Jonathan. I've explained this before as, like, I don't usually use sociosexual hierarchies in my work. And I do, that's not because I don't think that they have merit. I do. I just distill it down to alpha and beta, because those were very useful abstractions for what I was getting into. So we can talk about it. You can call it a high value man. I don't care, whatever. And you know what? 2 years from now, there'll be some other designation. It'll be like high quality man or whatever the semantics are. There'll be something, but it's still an abstraction. So that's why I distill everything down to just alpha and beta. Now, the other thing is this, and before we get started, I have to do, my caveats and my warm up here, I guess. But another thing is whenever I talk about like women in astrology, they love astrology. Oh, well, she's a Virgo, so. And I hear this all the time. I just heard this on Saucecast with the Coco, right? Well, he's a Virgo, so I'm like, that means it's nothing, It's like,
but they love hearing it.
Personality trait, and even the big 5 personality traits are something I think we want to use because we want to see predictability in people, and we want to see that this person is going to act and behave the way that we think a person like that will act. So there's some sort of congruency between what we're expecting from that guy's look or what his demeanor is, or his height, for example, or his, if he's fat, we're expecting one thing. If he looks like Justin Waller, he's 6'3" and he's jacked and juicy as fuck, then we're going to expect a different personality type from that guy, just simply because that's how we size people up as either threats or as allies, or as, maybe in the case of women, sexual partners, that kind of stuff. We do this instinctively it's moved to the peripheral awareness of
pattern recognition.
Yeah, it's pattern recognition. And
all the tall guys are getting the girls, so you associate that with that. Yeah. That's the problem I have with it, though, because you're right. The pattern recognition part of it is good. That's why I say it's good as a snapshot.
That's why astrology is a thing. That's why MBTI, Myers-Briggs, that's why that's a thing.
But the problem I have with it is, remember B.F. Skinner's pigeon experiments?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's what people turn it into. If you guys don't know the pigeon experiments, B.F. Skinner did this thing where he put pigeons in cages, randomly dispersed food pellets. There was no rhyme or reason to it. And what the birds would do is they would start building elaborate rituals, which he would equate to like religion in that. Mm-hmm. And that sometimes just by pure chance, they managed to do something twice in a row, and after they did it, it gave the food pellet. And so they would start treating it as that was the reason. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like human sacrifice causes the rains to come. And so people are kind of taking that same mental firmware issue that we have as people, and they're applying it to this shit when it doesn't have to be. It's such an errant explanation. It's like you've said yourself. You advocate all the guys. Yeah. All the qualities, like anything about you that makes a girl want to sleep with you is considered alpha. Being tall, looking good, smelling nice, pre-selection, all that shit. That's the whole reason you have it as an abstraction. Beta is all the comfort stuff. The stuff that makes a girl want to stay the next morning for breakfast kind of shit. Mm-hmm. And that was the part I liked that Vox kind of described that. And then he used delta, which most people, when they think beta male, the way he described it is he said it was delta. He's like the average guy. He's not special, but he's not bad. He's just milk bland. And then he came up with...
Most people could tell you what a sigma is before they could tell you what a delta is. They have no earthly clue. Like,
wait till we get to gamma.
Oh, man. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's already loaded. Yeah, that part's already loaded.
And I know this stuff is kind of cringe when you describe it like this, because it's like, this is how an autist describes people. But the game has always been like autists A/B testing the human condition. That's kind of how it gets to be so accurate. So I get it. But yeah, you're right. And then... he talked about sigmas, and he talked about alpha as being like the coolest guy in the group, right? But then sigma was the guy that came in, and he wasn't the coolest guy in the group, but he was bringing hot chicks with him, and nobody could figure it out. And I think, was it either you or Royce kind of refined that further? I can't remember which one to give credit to. Where you started talking about it, not renegade alpha, but it was like situational.
So yeah, a contextual alpha. That was me.
Thank you. Yeah, and all that meant was, like, in this social group, there's a Pareto principle. 20% of guys get 80% of the girls. There's always guys at the top. But people aren't just one hierarchy. There's like hundreds of hierarchies, and they're all intertwined like a matrix. So you get a guy from a completely different hierarchy into your hierarchy, and it just seems weird because he's acting top 20%, but he's not in top 20% here. And it was like, I found it a very eloquent way to describe why people need to stop being freaked out over the Pareto principle, because it's like, that's great. You just need to be top 20%. And everybody's like, that's too hard. It's like, there's thousands of groups. Just be 20% of one of them.
Right.
That's all you got to do.
Yep.
But then they run you up the flagpole because they think, no, there's one tribe and Trump's on top and I'll never make it.
Look, we already have the first misgiving here. Sigma is just an introverted alpha. No, my friend. It's not. And you
might. This is why
flagpole, Miles. Good try. I mean, this is a common misperception, but yeah.
That's actually, it's funny because in the original article, Vox even addresses that. That's where he came up with gamma males, which if you don't know what a gamma male is, the easiest way to describe it is narcissistic personality disorder. They are guys with delusions of grandeur. They're super shy and they have very unattractive qualities or not attractive qualities, but they think in their heart of hearts, I would be that top tier guy if only I did it, but I don't want to. And they consider themselves Sigma males, but in reality, they're just losers, I guess, the best word to describe it.
I may have missed it, but can we get a synopsis of what a Sigma is? Yeah, we're going to get to that. Don't worry. It's supposed to exist outside of the sociosexual hierarchy, but it's kind of hard when you're the sociosexual hierarchy is defined by like human males. So if you're a human male, you're going to be part of that. So it doesn't exist outside of that hierarchy. Just so we're saying here.
Yeah, your fuck pile is different than their fuck pile, but you're still the top of a fuck pile. That's basically it. Yep. Hope you don't mind the swearing. Are we far enough in? Yeah, for 25 minutes.
Forget it. I did. Had I watched it a few times, I would have known that I already said the F word.
Oh no!
In one of those clips. So whatever.
But that's what I mean. Good. And then it's literally that. Those
everybody super chats from here. We're only taking $50 super chats from now on.
And he admitted that, like a lot of guys, and then they attach themselves to that label, thinking, I'm technically the most attractive guy in the room, just nobody else knows it but me and my mom, and it's just
that's Secret King stuff, and we'll get to that as well too. But
which I think was it Vox that he eventually kind of talked about gamma males, but then he started calling it Secret Kings, or was that that was Tom Terrell?
I shouldn't say that. Actually, Vox did come up with Secret Kings, but I did not hear it originally from Vox. It was through, I think it was Nick Krauser who was talking.
Actually, that's the one.
In fact, I got a quote from him that I'm going to get into when we get to that part here. But as far as the Sigma is concerned, the reason why I wanted to do this is because I see a lot of like when I was doing my homework and I was like looking up Sigma male, let's go see what it says on YouTube right now, what other people have done. And I've got some of these other ones that were very kind of, I'm just going to say they were misnomers at best. So where is that one? I've got an overlay here for you. Where did it go? It's not in Dark Triad, is it?
Could be.
It's not. Well, I think Dark Triad is something that we have to sort of address as part of the whole hierarchies kind of thing. Oh, here it is. I just didn't put it.
Well, here, while you look for it, for you guys, a lot of you guys keep telling me like, no, Sigma means this, Sigma means that. I'm like, dudes, we're not just like inventing the shit on the fly here to talk to you guys. Mm-hmm. This just been written down. It's been here for like 10 years already. What we're doing is articulating what other guys have already done. This is like lawyers telling you about the law. It's not.
So this is like, I keep seeing stuff like that. This is one of many, right? This is what the gamma male is supposed to be. And I think what's interesting here is this is dangerous bullshit.
What is Mantelage? Who is this horse shit?
I have no idea, but like when I see stuff like this, and it wants to make gamma male into like some sort of like positive. We're all. It's like it is. It's participation trophy mentality applied to sociosexual hierarchies. When I see like the cute, this is like Disney, Sesame Street kind of cartoonsy kind of stuff. A gamma male is a highly intelligent, introspective, and empathic man. Get to know the sensitive guy every woman loves. No, they don't. Nope. And you know who's going to tell you that? The originator of the sociosexual hierarchies will tell you exactly that. In fact, as far as the gamma is concerned, now before we get too wrapped up in this, there's at the top of the heap, there's alphas, then there's betas, then there's deltas, then there's the gammas, and then there's the omegas, and then supposedly there is a designation that exists outside of this sociosexual hierarchy that's supposed to be the Sigma male that everybody suddenly wants to own as their own. So, but before
because you don't have to do anything.
Before we do that, everybody wants to categorize everyone, and so we've got some categories here for you to look at.
What in the? Oh, you son of a!
These are your categories. This is all you have to choose from. You could be an incel, a pretty boy, or a slayer, depending on where your chin juts out. And so that's category number one. But we can take that to the nth degree here, and we can turn them into Dungeons and Dragons characters.
Tell me you didn't make these. Tell me this is some.
I was, like I said, I do my homework for every show, and this is something I picked up on. I think it was like on some incel.
I think I've been to the incel wiki once, and I was just like, holy.
I love how the Slayer has higher than like normal, like human strength. It's like, 'cause remember, 18 is the max in Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, I was gonna say, like, if you were like an elf or an orc, you sometimes get a 19 skill.
Oh god,
Giga getting 24 in strength.
Yes.
Like Jesus.
Giga Chad is like he's got like magical strength. Only the gods can give you like 24 on this. But again, the reason why we do this is because we want to see predictability in people. And we want to know what we're dealing with. And so I think once you have those categories set, how can you be unique? How can you set yourself apart from all of that? And when we talk about things like transgender stuff, or we talk about homosexuality, or we talk about like anything, I don't know, whatever gender you think you are, like whatever flag or whatever icon it is in the 72 different genders or whatever.
Oh, dude, it's all identity.
First of all, it's a status flex. And then second of all, it's like, it's kids who want to feel special.
Adults too. Who do you think puts PhD in their profile?
Yeah.
Or I was joking about that. It's a guy who puts a tube sock in his pants before a date. It's all the same shit.
So when I talk about like the categorizations here, now remember, that's what we're going to get into. And I had to preface it with this because I distill a lot of what Vox goes into down to just nuts and bolts. It's just alpha and beta for me because it's simpler to get to the points and to get to the bigger ideas that I go into by keeping it that way. Does that mean that I don't think that there's merit to the sociosexual hierarchies? No, I think there are some merit to it. And I think you'll understand that here in a second when I play this video. But Ryan, we're going to just riff on this for a little bit here. But I wanted, before I dig too much into it, I wanted to throw the opposing idea here out first. So let's see.
Learned about 10 signs you are a Sigma male. Now, let's begin. Number 1, rejecting expectations. Everyone's heard of alpha males and beta males.
Personality disorder.
Alphas stand at the top of our social hierarchy. They lead with decisive voices, confident attitudes, and strong personas. Betas, on the other hand, are followers. They sink to the bottom of our social hierarchy. They're submissive, insecure, and weak-willed. They settle for less and run away from conflict. But alphas and betas aren't the only kinds of male personalities out there. The Sigma male is the rarest of the 3 male archetypes.
All right, right there. Let's come back. The rarest.
You're rare. You're special,
a rare
sir.
Individual right now. So we're already like sort of building up. Here's the normal society. There's alphas and there's betas, but you're not one of them. Or maybe you are. Maybe you aren't. But maybe you're outside of that system. And the other part here is like when I see this is what I have a problem with is the dissociation of Sigma male from what Vox Day talks about as being sociosexual hierarchies. You notice that there's only alpha and beta, and then there's this guy, this ominous figure that's outside of all of this, rather than going through.
You're Neo, you're Luke Skywalker, you're Harry fucking Potter.
Yes, exactly.
And the infographic, you got to admit, that's the shit you used to see on like Saturday morning cartoons before. Now they're, hey, you're 35. You ever wanted to be a Sigma male? Come here, kid. Come into my van. There's free candy.
Yep.
I hate this shit. The worst part is there's guys that buy it. There's guys in your chat. They've been listening to you for what? 3 years? Mm-hmm. 3 years. You've explained all this shit. You've written it down in 5 books. Me, I've been doing it for 3 years. I've given you just about everything that's out there. And still there's guys and you're saying, well, technically I'm a Sigma male because I believe it's true or something. It's like...
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's not.
I'm going to tell you why, because this is a bastard. You'll see, like when we get to Vox Day's like breakdown of all this, you'll see just how much of a bastardization this is. I mean, it's the point where it's like offensively stupid to somebody who's been like into the, well, you and I have been in this for a long time.
Probably why it sells so well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it is because, and I'll tell you why it is because there is, the Lost Boys generation really wants to consider themselves Sigma males. Well, I'm better than all of that. So I exist outside of this. And it's like, no, you're just autistic. No, you're just antisocial. You're as I said before, you're a sociopath. Now, before I say, oh, well, you just call me a sociopath for, I don't mean that in a negative way. I think probably everybody has some level of sociopathy in their personalities.
But it's not useful in this case.
Yes,
that's the problem.
Exactly. In fact, in some cases, because of stupid redefining of what sigma male is I think it's actually kind of dangerous to the guys who like sort of buy into this stuff. And remember, this is off of Top Think, I just want to put credit where it's due. This is from Top Think, and
credit.
There's a lot of it. I don't know what the view count was this, but I think it was like it was pushing like 700,000, maybe 1 million for this one. So, and this was one of many of these right now.
Unlike an alpha or a beta, a sigma male doesn't care about social standings or hierarchies. They ignore social norms, trends, and expectations. To a sigma male, there's no correct way to dress, speak, or act. Society has originated.
Does that dovetail real nice into the sort of the Lost Boys generation who's like, well, I don't have to worry about how I dress, speak, or act.
I was going to say, how is that any different than people talking about, like, yeah, you're one of 72 genders. You don't matter. Yep. Societal gender norms is like feminist language adopted to autistic sensibilities.
Pretty much.
List of male expectations created by alphas and idealized by betas.
Oh, they're holding you down.
Males discover their own path. They create their own definition of what's attractive, cool, and confident. Just take clothing, for example. Alpha males are trendsetters. They confidently push the boundaries of what's attractive and what's not. Beta males copy the styles created by the alphas. They wear expensive clothes and famous brands. They want to gain respect or bolster their reputation, but their lack of confidence shows right through. But sigma males don't create fads or follow them. You'll never see them wearing something popular or trendy, because sigma males don't care what society likes or dislikes. So if you march to the beat of your own drum, if you reject social trends and expectations, then you may be the rarest male archetype.
Yeah, you may be, but you're not. I think what a lot of
they aren't people, they're archetypes.
Yeah.
The dehumanization. What did I just say about NPD?
Right, exactly. Well, and then everybody wants to feel special, and they want to go, oh, maybe that's me. Because think about this. If you're a guy who spends a lot of time online, you don't really know anything about you're, let's say, lacking in social skills, right? You can call it game if you want to, but you're lacking in social skills. You don't have a lot of friends, but you want to feel good about yourself. Well, perhaps you are actually a sigma male. Maybe you're actually an alpha that's an undiscovered, unappreciated secret king, who you're actually at the top of the heap, and you just don't know that you're actually at the top of the heap because you don't want to do what everybody else is doing. And I think that this definition of what a sigma male is kind of it does a disservice to guys who are actually trying to improve themselves or trying to find a way out of their conditions, rather than saying, oh, I'm just going to make everything about me, and masculinity is subjective, my reality is subjective, everything is a social construct, people are different, so find me special. Like, women should find me attractive, but they don't find me attractive. But that's just
their
because
problem.
Of uniqueness, and I just got to find a more unique girl as a result of that.
I don't even know where to start, man. It's so annoying. Like, not even the fact that it's not true, not even the fact that it's been bastardized. It's not useful. There's nothing you could, like, oh, you're a sigma male, you're an alpha. What do I do with that? Okay, thanks.
Well,
am I going to get blown tonight or not?
Well, I mean, now listen to that. And we're only like not even a third through this video yet. But what are they describing here? They're describing a guy
Archetypes.
who doesn't matter what you. They just said it doesn't matter what you look like. You don't follow trends. You don't want to follow the alphas. You certainly don't want to follow the betas because they're following the alphas, and that would make you like part of the herd, right? You don't want to be a sheep, do you? And so think about if you're just coming into all of this, or like you're a young man and you're sort of like finding your own identity and trying to figure out why chicks won't bang you or whatever it is, or why you don't make money, or why you're special in some way. Maybe you're one of the most unique archetypes of men. You're the rare, I don't know, multi-classed bard / fighter / magic user. Maybe that's you. And it's this want to belong to a particular category, and that, especially when that category kind of aligns with what you already think your personality is. And I forget the name of it, but there's a reason why, what is it, MBTI, like Myers-Briggs, is kind of bullshit, is because it appeals, and nobody's ever an asshole. right? Everybody's special in their own like little lineup of 4 little letters kind of thing. And there's actually an appeal for it. Like it's also the same thing for why astrology is kind of lame, is because it always covers the bases. Yeah, it covers the bases, and I can't remember. I'll figure. I'll remember it like probably after this stream. But there's actually a psychological dynamic that says like one of the reasons why MBTI. Certainly astrology, anything that sort of puts you into a personality type, it's never, you're unique in some way. It's never like, oh, you're a Virgo, so you're an asshole. It's
uniquely positive. It's different than everybody else, and just vague enough that it casts a wide net of everything you do.
Yeah, that is me. That's what's going on here with the Sigma male thing, is like, yeah, that is me. Because I mean, think about how much, like all of what they've described up to this point. Now we're talking about looks and appearance, right? But he doesn't think the same way. He exists outside of the system and all that kind of stuff. He's like he's James Dean, and rebel without a cause, and he just rides a motorcycle and he doesn't care what anybody thinks about anybody, which is nonsense, by the way, because human beings are social animals. I hate that nonsense when people say like, you shouldn't care about what other people think about you. You should only care about how you thought about yourself before, or only compare yourself to who you were before. Yeah, until somebody like kicks your ass, until somebody outperforms you, outclasses you in God knows how many different realms, you will always compare yourself to other people, and you should compare yourself to.
Well, that's what I was going to say. These same guys are complaining about there's no rites of passage, masculinity isn't valued anymore, and shit like that. Meanwhile, the only 2 objective measures of a man that still exist, sex and violence, and they're like, now let's just hand wave this away. Well, I'm not a violent person. I'm not sexually good. I'm a Sigma. And you're like, dude, fighting somebody, if you're tougher than them by the end of it. Having sex, that like the girl has to like want to sleep with you. There's no fungibility about that. You can't call yourself God's gift when nobody touches you. And I'm just so annoyed that at the same time you're getting those 2 trains of thought that complement each other, and people ignore both of them for these stupid narcissistic fantasies. Yeah. And it's like, you've been, like I said, 20 years you've been saying this stuff. People still aren't getting it. And the new guys still fall for the same dumb shit. And it's almost like guys were meant to fail. Most guys were meant to be fodder for another French conquest of like the Islamic provinces,
Yes. You're a bullet catcher is what you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like this too. I was going to get to this anyways later on, but I might as well do it now. I'm glad someone finally said it. The Sigma male is just a beta pretending to be an alpha. And I think that's true, but I think it's also a little bit more than just that, because it goes back to classification and a want to feel unique. It's kind of like remember in The Incredibles when Syndrome was like, everybody's going to have superpowers and then everybody will be special, and then when everybody's special, no one will be. And that's essentially where this is going, because when you look at the guys who really want to sort of lock on to this Sigma male thing, again, the description, and people will like, here we have like Top Think feeding into this because it gets eyes on the screen. And by the way, it was 2.2 million views of this particular one. And I think it's kind of dangerous, because what it is it's reinforcing the idea that everything is subjective. So rather than like, you probably heard me talk about this before. It's like when women want to sort of win the game, they change the nature of the game. And so it's like the WNBA, right? They were going to lower the height of the baskets so the ladies could dunk from, I don't know, what is it, 12 feet down to 10 feet or something like that? I forget what the height is.
Stupid women can't dunk.
Well, because it was so boring and nobody came to the games, and probably still doesn't go to the games. And they, for a long time, I don't think they actually did it, but like there was talk that they were going to lower the baskets in the WNBA back when it first started, because none of the girls could get up. It was like life below the rim, And so there was nothing that was exciting about the game. And they thought that was the reason why nobody was coming. Actually, it was because it was really kind of boring sport. But they wanted to change the nature of the game by lowering the basket. So it's no longer basketball when you don't have it at the standard height that it's always been for God knows how long. It's the same thing here. So rather than saying you're not actually a loser, you're just a Sigma male and nobody knows it yet, and nobody appreciates you yet. You're actually a winner because you don't do all these things, or you're unique and you can't, you're outside of this game. You're above the game. You're above all of this, and you don't need to involve yourself, and you shouldn't have low self-esteem because of this, because you're actually a winner. It's the game that's screwed up and not you. And there was just the world's
the fault, not you. You're great.
Mm-hmm.
We put Vaseline on your butt and spank you and put you to bed, sir.
I'm going to paraphrase this, but like I actually cut out this quote from Forbes, and in that it was saying something to the effect like they were complaining about how women could not reproduce or they couldn't pursue their professional interests, and how Mother Nature designed a faulty system because Mother Nature doesn't have women's best interests in mind. So literally what it's saying is we need to change the fundamental nature of reality.
Hey, I wonder which group of people right now that's like the villains of the manosphere keep talking about changing reality because it's problematic. Can't remember their names. Does anybody remember? They remember it's like it rhymes with broke, and it's the shit you guys rant on every time they put on them pink hats and get mad at Trump.
Yep. Do I have it here? Yeah. Okay. Here it is. In fact, I'll just read it to you. I've got it on my Instagram. It's Forbes Health. It says the truth is a woman's biological clock doesn't slow down because she may justifiably, and they put that in, scare quotes, not be ready to start her family due to career, financial concerns, or waiting for the right partner. That's really the money shot right there. And this isn't a woman's fault. Instead, Mother Nature designed a faulty system that hasn't evolved with our society. No, it didn't. Because
it didn't get the memo.
That you are part of that machine, like it or not. It's reality. Reality doesn't cater to you, but the fact that is ending up in like something like Forbes is it's the height of peak solipsism right there, first and foremost. But like they don't even they don't even see the flaw in even typing that out in something like Forbes. Now, what that says to me is that in this particular system, which is gynocentrism, that's when people say, well, the world should change for us. It should change. We're above and beyond all of that, and it's
ego
a faulty system, and it should change for us, or else we need to change the fundamental nature of the game.
The ego behind that statement. It is just mind-boggling. Genghis Khan didn't even have the balls to say shit like that.
Exactly. Like the world, the entire nature of reality of the universe should change because it doesn't. It's inconvenient for me.
Actually, here one thing, Rollo, too, in your chat, these guys are like and I'm talking like alpha and beta. They're not archetypes. Sigma's not. Alpha is anything that elicits a sexual attraction thing. It makes a girl wet, right? Being tall, whatever. Beta is all the comfort stuff, the stuff that keeps her around. And everybody's like, well, can you have both of them? I'm like, do you remember when Rollo talks about alpha fucks and beta bucks? What the fuck do you think he's describing?
Exactly.
Like, this shit's not just random. Like, this all has a meaning. When we talk about alpha and beta, that's what he means. Alpha fucks the girl, like, I have to fuck you in the Cancun foam party. And beta is, I want him to be the father of my kids. And you're right. A lot of guys have a hard time calibrating that. So a girl can't find it both in one guy. Plus, girls are kind of inflated, whatever. But yeah. And all this Sigma is somebody in there that's like, no. I don't want any of this shit. I want my own. I'm gonna take my ball and go home.
Yes, I'm above it.
Yeah,
we have evolved beyond our machinery, right? We're outside of that game, and you're not
such
outside of that game. And women, and that's another thing. One of the reasons
you can't fire me. I quit.
Exactly. I'm not playing the game anymore. No, you are. You're just not. You're not a competitor in that game for sure, but you're still playing that game one way or another.
If you're on the bench.
Yep. PP. Thanks for that. There you go. That's the peak sound right there. Thanks for that $100. I much appreciate it. Now we can go on. Let's see. I've got some other stuff. By the way, I will get back to super chats here in just a bit. But let's keep going with this. There's a few other things before we get into Vox Days thing, because I want people to know where this actually comes from, like what the actual, how do we come to all of this?
The Sigma male.
Jesus Christ.
Number 2, material insignificance. Sigma males are minimalistic. They don't prioritize the same luxuries as other men because they don't need material things to complete them. They don't rely on luxuries to create or enhance their personality. Just think about fancy cars for a second. The beta male may spend tens, even hundreds of thousands of dollars on a sports car. They think an expensive car will make them more desirable, more attractive, more confident. But it won't. That's why a Sigma male drives whatever they want. They're just as confident driving a rundown wagon as they are a bright red Ferrari.
I really wish Andrew Tate would see this.
I was gonna say, so Tate with his Bugatti or whatever versus me with my Nissan Sentra picking up chicks. They just basically are calling me a Sigma male here. Like, what the fuck?
So let's get this straight. Sigma males drive like Ford.
They don't like branded things.
Sigma males, they don't care what they drive like. Let's see, VW buses. I don't know.
Nissan Sentra, 4-cylinder.
Exactly. Power. Yeah, the economical. They don't care about any of that kind of stuff because what's really laughable about this is like, oh, it doesn't make you any more attractive. There are literally dozens of videos, like even prank videos, where guys are driving around in Lamborghinis and women want to jump in the Lamborghini and get with them. So yeah, it kind of does. Because it's a status flex. I mean, it's conspicuous consumption. That's why it makes you attractive. Like,
but what does that have to do with alpha? Like the kid in high school who slept with all the girls. Do you think they're running with a Lambo? No. Like, how many? Remember this? Everybody, we talked about this. Every guy who has a decent like sexual history has always had his phase of like the mattress on the floor, and usually where he had the most fun with girls was then. The hell does that have to do with a fucking Lambo?
I'm a Sigma male. I live with my parents as a 35-year-old. Yes, yeah. You're a rebel, my friend.
Or I'm sure you've done a video. That guy who was homeless for 2 years, he just picked up chicks, so he had a place to stay.
Right.
What do they call him? Hobosexual or whatever.
This all the time too is like in my rock star 20s. There, I said it. There's your clip for the day. I had two nickels to rub together. I mean, my liquid assets were like my guitars, my amp, and a beat up pickup truck that I used to get from gig to gig. Right, that's pretty much all I had. But at that time of my life, you want to know where most of my 40 plus notch count came from. That's when it was. I didn't need money to do that. I had something else going for me at that time because I had a status and I was living a lifestyle and a character that women wanted to get with. And so did that make me a Sigma? Did that make me outside the thing? Well, we're going to get to that here in just a second, because I think a lot of people are, especially this, is mistaking different types of alphas rather than a Sigma itself. So
that they're thinking of as an archetype is the problem, because now they have to associate it with the person, and that person doesn't exist. So they always find, who do they love the most? Jordan Peterson was alpha, and then they found he was on diazepams or whatever. Now he's a beta male. And it's like, okay, so you're switching Michael Jordan posters on your wall and changing terminology depending on who you feel best about.
Just say winner and loser, because you don't even need the word, alpha or beta or any of that kind of stuff. Like, oh, you're an incel. No, you're not an incel. You're alpha. It's like when anybody wants to go after Myron and Fresh for whatever, like if there's the next scandal, everybody's going to go, these so-called alpha males. They're not saying anything like, I rarely do they. I don't think they have ever referred to themselves as like alpha or beta or anything else for that matter.
Smartest thing he's ever said.
Or they'll exactly. Or they'll come after me and they'll go, well, you do this and do that, and you have long hair, and so that doesn't seem very alpha. Well, why don't you just say fucking winner, dude? You don't seem like a winner to me. You seem like a loser to me, because that's really what you want to say, except you're putting it in sort of like internet red pill speak is what it is.
Do you remember the evangelical goods? Oh, what's that? Sorry, I was going to say, you remember the evangelical resurgence in the 80s and 90s and 2000s?
Yeah, the revival.
It totally reminds me of where they talk about things being evil or having godliness to them. It's basically that. It's like a secular religion. That's the part that creeps me out.
It's qualifiers, right?
Yeah.
And so, and what happens then is like, because, and I said this as early as my first book, and even like back in the So Suave days, alpha is a mindset. It is not a demographic. There are alphas who are outlaw, alphas who are in prison, and they're gang leaders, and they're drug users, and those guys are just as alpha as the guy who is like a leader of industry, is goes to church on Sundays and is a very highly respectable pro-social guy. He's just as alpha as the other guy. He just uses it and he contextualizes it and manifests it differently than the guy who's sitting in jail. So I think it's important to remember that those are the differences between those two, because too many people want to say, well, an alpha looks like me. This is what my definition of alpha is, and you're not it. You're not cool. I don't look up to you because you don't look like me. You don't think like me. You don't act like me. You're not built like me. And that's I said that from the very earliest days when I was talking about like, what is it, like alpha, right? And I go and I look at somebody like, say, Lemmy from Motorhead, very alpha, but most people will go, well, he's not really alpha. He nailed all these chicks, and he's he was an alcoholic or whatever, but he pretty much died an alpha guy. He lived his life the way he wanted to live his life. And so does that make him alpha? Does that make him beta? Well, it depends on the context, and it depends on what you respect and what the, sort of like the mindset behind that. So I think we need to keep that in mind, because most people want to contextualize alpha as what it is that they best identify with. And here we are talking about sigma in the same way that people used to talk about alpha, right? Oh, I'm a sigma. All of these things apply to me. It doesn't matter what I drive, because I'm going to be attractive no matter what. My confidence is high, even though I drive a Ford Focus or a Dodge Neon or whatever, a Ford Neon.
It's the beauty about sex. You can keep telling them how great you are, but they'll find 15 minutes. They'll know.
Yep.
Are not a substitute for self-worth. So instead of chasing luxuries, a Sigma male focuses on immaterial accomplishments. If you're a Sigma male, you dedicate your life to the pursuit of your passions. You seek knowledge, skill, and wisdom day after day. Your life is not driven by what you have. It's driven by what you can do.
Did you just hear that? How they changed the subject? It's no longer, this is what a sigma is. It's, this is what you do. They're using the term you at this point. You. That's an important distinction.
They're selling something at the end of this.
It wasn't you. It was like, this is what a sigma male is this. And they kept it sort of like third person. Now it's about you. Now they're personalizing this whole thing. So I think that's a very important distinction to know.
Number 3, self-management. Are you self-employed? Do you resist people in power? Sigma males, like alpha males, struggle with authority. They make terrible followers and worker bees. Unlike betas who do as they're told, Sigma males break the rules on a regular basis.
So would that also predispose them to criminality?
Yeah.
I mean, technically, that's a criminal can be a Sigma male, right?
Workplace, Sigma males feel stuck, like they're sitting in stopped traffic. They don't want anything or anyone slowing them down. They want to solve problems their own way. They want space and flexibility to rethink, reinvent, and reshape. That's why Sigma males work best on their own. They're dedicated self-starters. They flourish when they have complete control. Many Sigma males are business owners, risk takers, and creative thinkers. They confidently tackle high-stakes positions and difficult challenges. But if someone tries to control them, a Sigma male will not go down easy.
So a 2-year-old.
Exactly.
Does what he wants when he wants, doesn't care, and you'll love him regardless.
Essentially, especially in this particular part right here, these are qualities of the alpha male, and we'll talk about an alpha male here in just a second when we get into Vox Day's thing. But like, essentially, what they've done is they've converted. You're a loser, but don't worry, you're actually a winner. The people tell you you're not an alpha, but you're actually an alpha. Only we're not going to call it alpha anymore. We're going to call it sigma, because you're not an alpha or a beta. You are a high value guy being outside of that system. And if that were the case, then everybody in the Lost Boys generation is suddenly a winner, and they're suddenly, now they've changed the nature of the game to accommodate their personality and the things that they, if you turn it into something subjective, that's when it becomes about them, and that's when they can win the game. Change the nature of the game to suit the performance of the player rather than accepting the game for what it actually is.
Number 4, mysterious privacy. Sigma males keep their passions close to their chest.
Clothes are off. Close
They're
the
called
door.
private, selfish, and secretive by others. But here's the real truth. Sigma males do shield their passions and interests. It's not because they have something to hide. It's because they don't feel the need to share.
No, it's because a lot of their interests, and Lord knows I know this, tend to be kind of nerdy, right? It tends to be something that is not necessarily respected by most people. That's why. When people hide their passions and their interests, like if you were like a Eddie Van Halen level guitarist, would you hide that?
Yeah. Do you think LeBron's calling himself an accountant?
Exactly. And I think that's interesting, because now we're going to say, okay, it doesn't matter. The reason why you actually, want your privacy and you want other people, why you're an introvert, I guess. The reason why you're an introvert is not because you're a loser. It's because you want to hide your talents and you want to keep everything to yourself, kind of thing. And it's like, no. And again, I'm not saying there's anything right or wrong with this. I think that a lot of guys end up taking their passions or whatever, passions, their hobbies, their passions, whatever their interests are, and they keep them to themselves because, socially speaking, a lot of them are not respected. And I'm not talking, and it could be something like having a real keen interest in like history, right? if I'm watching, for instance, if I'm watching like was it on Netflix, there's like the World of Tanks, like, and it's a history of tanks from World War I all the way up to modern times, right? And if I am like an encyclopedia of tanks, this is something I'm going to go to the club and go, I'm going to go on Fresh and Fit and say, well, the Type 1 tank in, the French made in World War I was inferior to the, this particular tank or whatever. I'm not going to have that conversation, although I might be very, very passionate about it, because I know that that's not something that's going to be sort of like this conversation you're going to have that's going to either build your reputation or it's going to have some sort of, it's going to generate some interest in a larger social context. It's great that you have that. That's awesome. But I think a lot of guys suffer from this because, like, yeah, exactly. You collect comic books, right? Or you're into motorcycles, or you're into whatever it is. My wife tells me this all the time. Like when I watch Moon Knight, for example, on Netflix just recently. I thought it was really good. I thought it was considering the Marvel movies that have come in sort of the wake of the Avengers. I think my favorite thing thus far has been Moon Knight, because they stuck to a lot of the classic characters. But here I am geeking out about it. I can tell you all that stuff, but I'm not going to go. Hey, let's go do a podcast about how awesome Moon Knight is. I'm not going to do that, right? Because again, I think a lot of people sort of keep things like that to themselves, because intelligence, unfortunately, is not something that women see as sort of like this sexual arousal thing, right? In fact, if anything, they want to punch you in the face for something like that.
I don't think that's fair though. Like, because intelligence, like guys who can run a company have to be fairly intelligent. So it's not so much that. I think it's the obsessiveness of it. That's attention that's not going to come to me. It's going towards, comic books or something like that.
Right.
That, or there's no status involved in it. Like Johnny Depp, guys were wooing about him in here. Yeah, he's obsessed with his acting career, but that gets millions of chicks that want to sleep with him. So yeah, that makes him attractive.
Right.
But I mean, theater nerds, they're nerds. Nobody wants to sleep with them. It's the same thing. The only difference is how many people watch you do it and adore you for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, most guys who are sort of in the, I want to say the gamma male slot of categories here, a lot of the sigma male stuff applies to the gamma male archetype that Vox Day talks about. So, and by the way,
now that is something I love of his.
Yes. And the male archetype, which we'll talk about here now, the reason I'm doing this first and not going to Vox first is because I want people to understand where this is coming from. Because when I'm critical of the sigma male thing, by the way, Vox never talked about a sigma male. It's certainly not in his most original stuff. And a lot of people think that the sigma male concept came up because people wanted to feel special outside of all of this. And so they wanted the James Dean. They wanted the the Bender from Breakfast Club. They wanted the guy who's just sort of like the rebel without a cause kind of thing. And we had to make a full archetype for that, when in fact it's just a subcategory of alpha when you think about it. So like, and notice how this is appealing to you now as a gamma male. Most of these guys have like interests and passions and stuff that aren't necessarily appreciated in a larger society, and certainly not by women who are like very let's say preoccupied with their own self-interest and their own ego aggrandizement.
Can you believe women have their own interests?
Yes, you're a nerd. You're a nerd. You're a nerd if you like certain things, and if you are, you're going to tend to keep those to yourself. Now, a lot of people say, well, they do that because they don't want to share, whatever. If we're going to turn what they're doing is they're turning that sort of desire to cover that up into a strength here, and this is something that Jack Donovan has called transvaluation. Is you take it's like vulnerability is actually strength. No, it's not. Definitively, it's not actually a strength. But if you can be sold on the idea that vulnerability is a strength, and and you're going to lead with it, and the more vulnerable you are, the better off you will be in the sexual marketplace. That's when you have a problem with vulnerability. Same thing applies here.
A sigma male does not advertise their accomplishments. Many people talk about their passions to earn the approval of others. They tell people about their successes because telling someone gives them a little ego boost. But sigma males don't want or need outside approval. They keep their passions to themselves because telling themselves is more than enough. This can make sigmas very difficult to understand. It takes a long time to get to know them. Friends may feel like they're always unwrapping new layers of this complex archetype.
layers like an onion.
Dude, the asteroid can't come fast enough. Man.
I know.
Your friends are just like so amazed with you. They're like, it's like an enigma wrapped in a mystery, like those Russian dolls.
Yes, it takes.
And look at that too. He's being even the example they give. He's following the girl home from college, hoping she gives him some.
Yeah, it's and I understand. Well, hold on a second.
You're my best friend, Steven.
So there is alpha and beta, but again, it's not the archetype that you're thinking of. That's why I distill it down to things. These are personality types. This is what, at least they want you to believe this is a personality type.
Yeah,
it's like you're a special person, and this is why. And what they do is they take all the traits that would apply to a guy who's basically a gamma introverted guy, and they say people just don't see it. They just don't see that you're in a perfect world. Women would like drop their panties at you and want to get to know you and want to unravel you and learn the mystery of you. Except they're not. And the only reason the reason that you're attracted to this and you're drawn to this kind of stuff is because you want to believe that they ought to be or they should be, and that's where you get into the secret king aspect of all of this.
Imagine applying this same Sigma mindset to gravity.
Yeah. Yes.
I think that's the best way to articulate it.
No, it takes
gravity
a long
awesome
time. Sigma males are the most rewarding people to connect with and befriend. Underneath that quiet exterior is a confident passion unlike any other. Number 5, humble leadership. In their careers and their lives, Sigma males are lone wolves. But in the right circumstances, they can be inspiring leaders too.
See, this is what gets me is like you're everything to everyone. So not only are you like sort of this lone wolf and set apart from everything, now suddenly you're also a leader when you need to be a leader, right? You step
but you don't want it, but you're there and you're good at it, but you don't care about that. But it's you.
Exactly. Thanks.
Everybody loves you, but they just don't know you, and they won't know you because they don't love you yet. But that's all right. Your time will come.
Yes.
Right at the end of this Gumroad course.
Alpha males use power and aggression to lead, but Sigma males lead by example. They pour their hearts into their...
Well, alpha males don't lead by example. I would say they certainly do, but...
No, they have to yell at you, otherwise you don't get shit done. Yeah, so it's basically like your abusive stepfather is the alpha male.
Yeah, the jocks in high school who gave you the nuclear wedgies, those are the alphas. You're better than them.
Work and their dedication inspires others to follow in their footsteps. They rarely intimidate or dominate others, and they rarely want to. Sigma males generate as much power and respect as an alpha without lording over anyone. Sigma males don't care about titles and standings. They don't use their position or paycheck to get their way.
So basically, they are to be respected because they're part of the participation trophy generation. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Here.
Yeah. So I'm gonna call it right here after this.
Instead, they create the best product that they can. They learn, improve, and streamline because they want to make themselves proud. They have a humble yet disciplined mindset, but that mindset is why Sigma males become such respected leaders.
See, this has absolutely, I'm going to pull this out right now. This has absolutely nothing to do with even when, like, if you go back to 2012 or 2010 and people started talking about Sigma males, that had nothing to do with anything that's in this video. That's what I'm saying. We see the cycle keep coming back over and over again, but this is even this, like Sigma males is kind of like, it's basically just a variation of alphas. But this right here wants to sort of sell guys on the idea that if you do all these things, if this is you already, you're quiet and contemplative, and you step up to the plate when you need to. And it's like all they're doing is pretty much building this what's really a gynocentric ideal for a guy who's masculine and is still takes care of his shit.
Good eye. Dude, chicks will love you, but you got to be their friend first.
Exactly.
Wait till she's 30 and then she'll figure it out because she had to peel all the onion layers back.
Yeah. How's that working out for you guys? Let her come to you. You know how that's working out? It's working out in the fact that, what is it? Guys between the ages of like 18 and 29 right now have the lowest, sexual frequency, or if whether they're getting laid at all.
Can you blame them? They buy into shit like this.
Yeah, if this were the case, if you were a Sigma male and this is actually something that women, doesn't matter what car you drive, doesn't matter what job you have, you're only proud for you. You're the only person that you need to, who you get to define what success is for you. That's essentially what it's saying. And I'm like, No, it's not. You have to compare yourself to other people. You will do it naturally anyways. All these guys who are depressed and don't know what to do with themselves, and they're like, Rollo, I don't know how to deal with other men. I don't know how to do any of this other stuff. They fall into this idea of like, if I go and I take these courses, if I go and I do these things, then I'll be a maverick, right? I'll be the guy who stands out from the crowd because I am following along with essentially what this video is saying, which is what I've been doing all the time, but I don't see any confirmation of that in the real world. So it's really the world that's at fault. Mother Nature designed this imperfect system, and I'm not a winner in this because if it had, then I would be a winner. And that's the sort of the circular logic of like subjectivity. And too many guys, I think right now, when we talk about, we talked about this at the convention, that we're talking about like masculinity and toxic masculinity, this kind of masculinity. I'm like, right now, too many guys, especially of the last, this generation and like the latter half of the millennials, they want to define masculinity as subjective.
Whatever they're doing.
Whatever makes me like, whatever I am, I'm the top of the heap. That's all this is doing, is reinforcing that ideal.
That's another thing that gets me about it too, because it's like it's so detached from all the other red pill stuff. Like Married Man's Sex Life Primer kind of broke down the way you guys were talking about alpha and beta to as far as like hormonal responses, right? Oxytocin and serotonin are that lovey-dovey stuff. So that's like beta. If it gets that kind of a reaction, then you classify it as beta. If it makes a girl, sexually interested and wet, you classify it as alpha. It makes perfect sense there because now it's behaviors, it's outcomes. And that's something you can measure. So, and it's not like, it's not subjective. Why is it sigma? Like, what other reactions do you want from a girl other than sexual attraction or relationship fidelity, I guess, lack of a better word? Is there some third thing that involves their feet or something that you can put, sigma is technically part of your insulin response? Like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah. So
like, the stuff's there. And I'm sorry, I'm rambling.
No, that's okay. No, that's fine. It's fine, because I think one of the reasons, like, people probably don't even understand, like, why like guys like us who have been in this for a very long time get sort of frustrated by like seeing this bastardization of this, because what it does is it kind of drags guys back. It's crabs in the bucket, right? It drags these guys back to the plantation. What you're doing is actually the right thing. You're okay. It doesn't matter if you're at home jerking off to porn and you're online and you're a MGTOW or you're black, because this, I can see this right here becoming really attractive and really appealing to a beta male, well, certainly a MGTOW black pill mindset. It's like, I'm actually a winner, but nobody else can see that I'm a winner because I'm actually a Sigma male and I'm actually at the top of the heap. And if everybody was in a perfect world, people would see me as women would drop their panties for me.
Back in the old days, remember the old days where you'd hit on a girl, she'd reject you, and then you would just call her a lesbian? Now you have to come up with this, like, you have to make a pseudo-scientific endeavor to classify it now because you're not allowed to say that. I'm like, all right, fine, fair enough.
Okay, this is good. Why does it matter if somebody is alpha, sigma, or beta? Because when men organize societies, and when I want to say like, sexual dimorphism, right? Men tend to think in terms of hierarchies. Women tend to think in terms of communitarianism. That's why. Hunters and gatherers. Women were the berry pickers, and the hunters are the gatherers, and men were the hunters.
Can I push back on this a bit?
Sure.
Where he's talking about why it matters. I kind of agree. Like, why does it matter? I think that's a question nobody asks themselves. Let's say we define a Sigma male, whatever the hell that means, whatever you want it to mean, and you've got it perfectly defined. What happens next? And it's basically nothing. If you define alpha and beta as archetypes, well, are you or aren't you? Well, I am. Well, now what? Well, nothing. Well, what the fuck's the point? Why are you wasting your time deciding who would win in a fight, Iron Man or Jackie Chan? Instead, when you define them in red-pilled ways, it's always about, what can I do with this information? If you make alpha about behavior sets, things that elicit dopamine responses, then there's things you can do about that. You can work out and get more attractive. You can get nicer haircuts. You can smell better. You can have game, and those will elicit those reactions. And there's a way ahead, a path, one of those ways to get, what do you call it, polarity. Or beta. Yeah, I keep sleeping with girls, but nobody wants to settle down with me. What do I do? Well, that's where the beta stuff comes in. Oh, okay. And it's great because you have a system, and as cringe as it is, and as convoluted as some of the terms are, because everything's subjective, you kind of have to, well, not subjective, you have to apply the right tool for the right situations. You have to use your head, you have to have critical thinking. And there's a great system, and it works well. And as more guys do it, it refines itself and becomes better. Men swapping notes. And it's great, and it's perfect, and it's awesome. And then a bunch of narcissist, loser D&D basement trolls, and I hate to use that as like to shame them, but I think they kind of need it. Those type of guys
That's
end up just like, they wear it like a skin suit, and then they just take a piss all over it. And that's why it's fucking annoying. And we'll describe this stuff. And then in your chat, there'll always be like two guys who act like they just ignored and glossed over the last 20 minutes and asked the stupidest, like, so what is a Sigma male then? I'm a Sigma, right? And you're just like, you're in this chat. I know you're listening. Or do you like type while it's on mute or what? There's this flagpole again. I'm feeling it now.
Yeah, I like for instance, I don't know, maybe this will, things are cyclical, right? Maybe this will come back at some point. But do you remember when everybody was you saw this in sort of popular media, how a dad bod was supposed to be the hottest thing? Women were really into dad bods, right?
Oh yeah.
Really look at here's Leonardo DiCaprio. He's not in shape, but look at him. He's the peak of sexual arousal and desirability for women. And everybody
random article writer, and now it's true.
Everybody knows it's bullshit. It's including the women who are like fronting for all this.
Well, not everybody. There's two guys in here who think it's right.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, in my chat right now, right?
The haters, the ones that keep shitting on you in the chat here.
But see, the thing is that when we front for narratives, like you don't hear about that anymore, right? Especially not now. I talked about this with Adam Sosnick when we were talking about the chick that was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. I think her name was Yummy, Y-U-M-I, new N-U, right? And she's essentially, I mean, by medical terminology, she is morbidly obese. And we put her on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and we expect the world at large to consider her beautiful. And to the point where, when you think about like the history of the swimsuit edition of Sports Illustrated, it's usually has like, Tyra Banks on there, right? Or whoever, supermodels and in bikinis and everything. And now we're going to put this girl on there, which is in direct, like flying in the face of, well, these are what beauty standards are. And that even had like, who else was in there? I think Elon Musk's mom was in that issue as well in a bikini. So now it's like the year of the woman, and we all got to pretend like there's no reality. Again, it's the reality won't coincide with what we think should be beautiful, because it's all just a social construct, and there's no fundamental basic evolutionary reality that goes into what is arousing to men and what is not. And if you don't find this attractive, if you don't find this fat woman that's on the cover of Sports Illustrated, hot, then there's something wrong with you. And that's really essentially where we're going with this Sigma male thing, right? It's like, don't worry. It's because the world doesn't think that you are a winner. They should, because of all these great things, and you're actually a winner. You just don't know it yet, and the world won't recognize it because it's a flawed system. It's the same thing as trying to convince women that being fat and being overweight will get you on the cover of Sports Illustrated for the swimsuit edition. And again, it fundamentally flies in the face of reality. And like that's one reality we can sort of fudge things a little bit when it comes to beauty and reproduction, right? But it's another thing to fudge that reality when it comes to warfare, right? When it comes to like life or death situations, we don't get to fudge on that reality anymore. We have to actually work within that reality. I have some, let me get these super chats real quick before we get into Vox Day's thing here. This was from Hallow Band. He says, hey, Rollo, I am a French painter. Oh, really? Paint me like your French girls. And want to do portraits of red pill personalities. I'd like to start with you. Ooh, really? Paint me like your French girls. Went to your Insta, but didn't find a pic that struck me as portrait material. Yeah, good luck.
I think we could find you one in your OnlyFans that you could probably
send
him.
Hollow Band, I did a photo shoot with a gentleman by the name of Mike Tang over the course of, let's see, it was not last Tuesday, 2 weeks ago, out at his house, and which is basically one big, large photo shoot. When those should be coming out soon, I'm sure you'll find something. Give it about a week. When those come up, just go look on my Instagram, because I will definitely post those up there. So that's that. Jonathan in Vegas says, is there such a thing as an alpha female in humans? Yes, but not the way that you think it is. An alpha female in humans looks like Renee Summerfield. In my book, she looks like Renee Summerfield. She does not look like Sheryl Sandberg, put it that way. She doesn't look like the alpha male with tits and a vagina. So there is. It's just not the alpha female that everybody wants to talk about is actually a male archetype that women have sort of pushed them, force fit them.
Like that either, because they don't really hierarchy. They're more communal.
Yeah.
Because what was the classic thing back when we were cavemen? It was like harems, right? So even if there was like the what do they call them? The pimps call them bottom bitches, like the girl that's like the top of the harem. But they're all team up together when it comes to attacking like an external threat.
Oh yeah.
They just don't have that same need guys do.
Exactly.
And I don't like it because it tries to do that. Well, men and women are equal. We have alpha males. They have alpha males. We have autists. They have autists. And I just, even if it is an accurate description, I don't think it's useful because it keeps holding on to that narrative lie that we're equal and that we're equivalent, and we're not. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean one is better than the other. In the sense that like a fish and a bicycle, like they're both good, but depends what you need it for.
I think what's funny is whenever I talk about alpha males, people want to say that's nonsense. That's human beings aren't gorillas. They're not wolves.
Nobody gives a shit about the wolves.
Everybody wants to turn it into some sort of like scientific definition. It's like that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about an alpha in abstract terms. We're not talking about it like trying to compare it to like silverback gorillas.
Well, it's a Greek letter. What do you want me to do? Talk about the alpha and beta waves and an electromagnetic signal? Is that what we're referring to, guys?
Yeah, exactly.
Are you electricity?
You have a false dichotomy for your alpha definition, my friend. And so therefore I dismiss anything else you have to say. And it's like, God. But when we think of alpha males, like we want to dismiss that idea. But when we talk about alpha females, everybody, oh yes, Sheryl Sandberg, she's a powerful woman, or Nancy Pelosi, she's an alpha female. Whatever sort of coincides with whatever your ideological idea of what is right and what's wrong in a gynocentric social order. Yeah, that's absolutely. There's alpha females. There's no alpha males, but there is an alpha female, and it's like no. If there's no alpha males, there's no alpha females either.
And what does it matter? That's the other thing. Like red pill, like what's useful to me? Okay, there's alpha females out there. That doesn't matter. How about if there's one that you want to sleep with, there's one you want to get in a relationship with? Those are the only ones that matter to you. Yeah. Whether there's some top tier supermodel scientist somewhere that's curing cancer with $1 billion, like, so is she that barista I'm hitting on right now? No.
Well, I did that show. I don't know, maybe you saw this or not.
Are some vehicles red pill, Rollo? Should I buy a Mustang or a Maserati?
Let's see.
Maybe that's aside from the
a Dodge Challenger Hellcat is definitely an alpha vehicle. I think it's funny. Sorry, this is an aside. The guy who I'm in the band with on Trial of Ascension, CJ, he's the other guitarist. He works for Tesla, and he's got what's that new fast, like the super Tesla. I think it's a Type. Is it Type S or is it a Type? Can't remember.
You're asking the wrong guy, man.
It is.
I'm Sigma. I don't do cars.
Whatever the fast one is, and like he was talking about how like they've done like track tests against like a Lamborghini, and it's like faster than a Lamborghini because it's got line speed. It's electric. It's got line speed
massive torque.
And I was like, "Are you really? Is that for real?" And I went and looked it up, and sure as shit, it is. And I'm like, man, that's a hell of a flex against like some of like the Tates or something like that, where it's like, oh, they're all about Lamborghinis. Like, I'll just show up in my, my Type S or whatever it is and just blow the doors off of it. So is a Tesla an alpha vehicle? Well, what's the metric here?
But you see what I mean? Like you can start like throwing anything in there, but it's all nonsensical. Like, what does that have to do with anything?
Right.
Not everything has to be red pill. It's like you said, what's rule 0? Sexual strategy, positive male identity. And so much shit outside of it that guys cannot stop focusing on. It's like literally the name of the goddamn show, guys, to keep you focused on task. And is hour 22 minutes in, and there's still guys in here talking about Sigma male grind set.
I'm the Sigma male. We're about to destroy Sigma male here in just a second. But Red Pill Rick says, "Hi, Rollo. How do I care less about what people think? I don't do well in groups and sometimes don't approach because I fear what other people think."
You're a nice guy. Robert Glover's "When I Say No" or "No More Mr. Nice Guy" is literally the fundamental red pill text to describe all the reasons that happens, all the ways you do it, and the tons of strategies you can use to stop doing it. It's red pill. No offense, Rollo, but I tell people to read that before Rational Male. Like that's how fundamental I consider it.
I mean, it's basic stuff. Since then, I definitely disagree with a lot of stuff that Robert Glover's come up with. But there's,
he's no god.
Well done. Yes. even David D'Angelo's stuff, I still think there's merit in a lot of that stuff. It's like I don't think it's like update. It needs to be updated to where we're at right now.
Oh, everything does.
The only thing I would tell you, Rick, is that there will never come a day where you will care less about what other people think, because that's just sort of how our firmware works. We are always comparing ourselves to others. It doesn't matter in some way, shape, or form. We will always do that. And when I hear these guys who are like the positivity hustlers who say, "Don't compare yourself to other people. Compare yourself to how you were the other day." Okay, that's good, but you're still going to compare yourself to other people because you need a benchmark for what is possible for you, right?
Well, I think he's talking not so much about that. It's more so about being judged by other people, which is automatically putting other people in that authoritative position over you.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's like you basically have to take like a basic psychology course to learn why you're doing that. And how
at what point does it cease to be about like comparing yourself, and when does it become envy? Right? Or because envy and jealousy are two different things. Envy is like envying somebody that has something that you don't have. Jealousy is when somebody takes something that you already have, right? So there's this, or could possibly take it away from you. So like one implies possession and one implies like not having something. So at what point does that, like, I don't want to care about what people think. Well, I mean, practice, I don't know, whatever, what is it? Become outcome independent, right? But the problem is you're at some point you kind of have to, so that you can be, the human state is defined by discontent. And the reason why we get to that is because, okay, what's possible? What's next for me? I've got this degree. Now I'm going to go get my master's. Now I'm going to get my doctorate, right? I'll be happy when I get to that. I'll be better. I'll be in a higher socioeconomic class, right? That's
the thing. You're making your own goals. You're becoming your own judge. Therefore, if somebody judges you for wanting to be a doctor in that example, it doesn't matter. My goal was to be a doctor. What you think of that is irrelevant.
Right. Exactly.
But that requires like a confidence about it. And you have to kind of succeed. Like good grades in school make it more likely you're going to be proud of being a doctor, as opposed to the college dropout who's like getting shamed about wanting to be a doctor.
Well, when I see people who are doing great work, I want to be like that. I want to be able to achieve like things like that. But when people hate, like people in the chat right now, when you're throwing rocks at me and giving me shit, I don't care. I don't care what you think, but I do care what like people who are like doing good stuff, who I want to be associated with in my life. I do care what they think about me. I don't care what people who are beneath me, think about me. I care what other people do think about me as well. Because the moment I go and I screw up, right? Trust me, I expect no mercy. I expect no quarter whatsoever, right? If you find out tomorrow, like the worst of the worst is true about Rollo Tomasi, I expect you guys to like hammer my ass into the ground.
Holy fuck, it'll be a bloodbath.
Like you want to know why Rule Zero is still a thing, is because you guys were the few people who had my back at that time. I expected no one to when all that shit went down.
Well, it's because they all had that Sigma male grind set where you're nice and you're special. You don't have to write like a book. You don't have to write 2 books. You don't have to sell 10,000 copies or something like that. They all thought I'm just as good as Rollo Tomasi because I believe. When like the rest of us, we understood like, yeah, like I'm not thinking of myself as better or worse than Rollo, because like Rollo had to do X amount of work to get where he does. When I get X amount of work done, I'll probably be in like a similar position. And that was how I looked at it. Until then, it's just standing on the shoulders of giants. It's like a profession. And that's what a lot of guys don't do. Like imagine this. You join Rule Zero, you're the brand new guy. Instead of looking at Rollo as like the biggest guy ever, you look at like a guy who's got, 5 books, he's got 5,000 hours of podcasting. So you're like, so I see how much work I have to do to get to that level. And you're just standing on the shoulders of giants, same way as a lawyer. Yeah, same thing. I mean, we build on the knowledge base of people who came before us, right? And we've been doing that. That's one of the the greatest successes of the human race, is that we can do that sort of generationally, right? Exactly.
So, I'm a lot of the stuff I talk about when I talk about like evolutionary psychology. I'm not an evolutionary psychologist. I'm not a believe it or not, I'm not a neuroscientist either, or an endocrinologist.
Jeff Miller reminds us, don't worry.
Yes, trust me. And I didn't steal my name to sound Italian either. There was a character that came before that I thought, okay, I'll take that. Right?
Yeah.
We build upon the knowledge in the database of past generations, and we hopefully improve them and innovate as a result of having that knowledge in the first place and moving forward to it. So,
and it's so easy. Nobody else does it. So all you have to do is do it, and people will get out of your way and let you do it. Well, nobody stopped me from making videos. Nobody stopped you from writing your 5th book. You just go.
When I when I did the CME, Donovan originally wanted me to be the keynote speaker at it, and I said no, I don't want to do that. I said I don't want to. I don't want to be the guy who is sort of like at the top of the heap and all of this stuff, or the main draw. I said everybody there. I want everybody else to like feel like that what they're saying is just as important as anything that I'm gonna go up there and do. And so I turned that down. Simply because I don't really see myself as being, better or worse than anybody that's there. It's like, first among equals, right? That's pretty much about all I was thinking at that time. But then,
it's like a survival trait. I'm not falling for that again, sir. You're not making me keynote.
Yeah, exactly. I'm backing up off of this. And no, it had nothing to do with the organization of that whole thing either. I just work here, man.
I'm such a dick.
Work here. That's all I wanted to do. But for instance, like I think, as I've said before, it's like at the end of your life, it's not going to be about the trophies that are on your shelf. It's going to be your body of work. Like, what did you do along the way? And that's really, your dent in the universe isn't going to be like your accolades. It's going to be like the overall impact of everything you did. And so I think I've done quite a bit since then. But again, I'm not trying. I don't want to be in a position where I don't know.
You're focused on the process, not the identity.
Exactly. I'm just another guy who's helping everybody else, just like anybody else. Just because you're unique doesn't mean you're useful. Yes, I love that. That's actually a meme, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Chat of Arabia. Inserting something here will end someone's e-career with $5. Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Jack has made that meme live forever.
Yes. Witty. Let's see. Just more money from one long-haired metalhead to another. Thank you, my friend. I even put the Ibanez up there because I always do that when Ryan.
Because I fucking can't stand Ibanez.
Flex on him. By the way, I know if Kevin Savo's watching, this is the Phil Collin from Def Leppard, circa 1983 Pyromania. There you go. And fully functional. I'm actually changing the pickup out for a bare knuckles for the bridge pickup. Let's see. This is not Sigma. It's Secret King. We're going to get to Secret King here today too. Don't worry. We're going to cover that. Gave me hope, Rollo. I was on a self-destructive emotional path and your work saved me and it enlightened me. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. You are welcome from the bottom of my heart too. Irish Alpha, gammas pretend to be sigmas the way some alphas pretend sigmas don't exist because sigmas look down on the hierarchy alphas defined by themselves by.
Oh, that's an MCU in there. That's a whole MCU. There's Iron Man and fucking Thanos.
I'm glad you brought. Yeah, we'll get to that too.
No offense, I like you, man. I know you've been around a while, but like Jesus. Oh.
The whole Sigma thing is a false reality for men who don't want to do the work. Yeah, because they think they've already done the work. You won't do the work if you think you've already done the work, right? And people just aren't giving you your flowers and your accolades because they can't see how bi bitchin' you are, right?
Yeah. The manuscript for the book is in the closet. You didn't release it because it's just too good.
Yeah, I'll get to it someday. I got a masterpiece in me sometime.
Oh, do you think they'll get the reference from Upstream Twitter of the guys who did exactly that? Did I ever tell you about that?
No.
Do you remember that guy back when Upstream Twitter and all those guys were shitting on you because you were like beneath them? Mm-hmm. There was this one guy who called you an N-word.
Yeah.
I saved that. And I remember 3 years later, he was popping up again. And I was like, hey, I remember last time you were here, you were talking about writing a book that was going to blow Rational Mail out. Like, whatever happened with that?
Yeah. Oh, you can say,
well, it's not perfect yet. So I didn't
man. Yeah, go right ahead. I don't care running him up the pole whatsoever. Is he still doing a pre-sale for that book?
Oh, his podcast? Now? If you don't have it in a book form, it's just a podcast. I don't care. You can't just have an audio only book.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
I gave up on that dude when he started like coming at my daughter and everybody else along with Anthony during that time.
Didn't he learn a lesson about like talking to chicks online because they just send the screenshots to Tate to dunk on them?
Yeah. That was karma, right? I don't believe in karma, but that might have been karma there.
His little e-girlfriend. Hey, sir, can I be part of your cam collective? Here's my sacrifice for the gods.
God, and you see. God damn it! I hate to derail everything, but did you see what was going on with what Scott Adams' girlfriend or his wife who ended up?
No, I saw he was doing the same bullying shit he does with everybody else.
That was a major dunk, but wow.
What happens now? He's making Dilbert comics that are basically bitching her out, or what?
I have no idea, but man, I would not want to be that dude right now, quite honestly.
Two screens. It's just you're not looking at the right screen, Rollo.
Yeah, sorry. I'm scrolling back through my chats here to go pick up the other supers that I just missed because I was reading the supers, which is why I need more people on my staff.
That's fine. Well, here too, guys. While he's looking through the supers, ask yourself, there's guys fighting like about how Sigma male has to exist in here. Ask yourself, why do you need it to exist so bad? It's a made up term. Why do you have to have it there? If it's not there, how does that change your life? If it's there, how does that change your life? And I think if you search your soul, you're going to find it's because you're attached to that identity that you're special no matter what, whether you believe it or not. And it's the best piece of wisdom you're ever going to get is that you ain't shit. And that's okay. Just go to the gym. Go to the gym. It's the first place to start. Yeah.
Just lift, bro.
Well, start lifting. Don't end it there.
So now we're about halfway here. I wanted to. We're gonna look at Vox Day stuff here in just a second, but before we do, just to sort of tag something onto what you were just saying a second ago is. People there has to be Sigma, right? Well, I've described it as this is. There is Captain America and there's Iron Man. I think we just talked about this a minute ago. Captain America is a pro-social alpha, right? He's the good guy. He's the guy who God and country, right? He has a responsibility. He's moral. He's ethical. He's dutiful, loyal. He'd probably make a great husband, right? And he's hot too. He still looks like freaking, Chris Evans, right? And so it's Captain America, he's a good dude. Superman, same thing. He's a truth, justice, the American way, and he's an upstanding gentleman, and he does the work, and he takes it on the chin when he has to, and he plays by all the rules. Then you have Iron Man, and Iron Man in this case is like people would say, "Oh, Iron Man's a Sigma." No, Iron Man is an alpha. He just expresses it and manifests it in a different way. He's a maverick. He doesn't care what other people think, but he's still in control of his game, right?
Well, he earned the ability to not care what people
think.
He's
a millionaire, right? He's a millionaire. Yes, and through his ingenuity, creates a suit of armor. But he basically turns himself into a superhero by sheer force of will, money, ingenuity, intelligence. He's not the strongest guy in the world. Take him out of the suit, and Captain America kicks his ass, right? But it's like Batman, right? Batman doesn't technically have any superpowers. And so he's
the pinnacle of human accomplishment.
Right. And he's a Dark Knight. He's a vigilante. He still believes in justice, but it's like, frontier justice. And he's the one that's going to go and like, he's the kind of guy who will kill, right? Superman will kill. Captain America probably, if they do, they're very hesitant to do so. But Wolverine's going to put those claws right through your neck, right? Because but he's still alpha. Right. And Wolverine's what, 5'4"?
And that's the thing. These are like placeholder archetypes to describe like certain qualities in people that you can see or not see. That's another reason why I hate the Sigma and alpha male and beta male shit, because you're essentially just replacing the human condition with the Marvel superheroes. And I hate it because it's juvenile. It's a narcissistic fantasy. And then you end up, instead of like having real discussions about how to survive and thrive in like a relationship, when you're single, when you're married, when you have kids, instead you're arguing whether Yoda can beat Count fucking Dooku in a thing, and whether you're more alpha than Vox, or who's the most alpha. Remember those little A to S tier charts you always see for like video games and that? Imagine that, but with like you and fucking Roosh and all these guys on it. It's like, that's where it's going.
Man, that's all. Yeah, that's what it comes down to. Can my fantasy archetype beat up your fantasy? And that's what this is right here. Captain America is a total beta. He's an order taker. Well, is that what defines alpha? Right? Because other people, and women included, will say, I want a man in uniform. Right? How many times have we heard? I'm a badge bunny, right? I follow the guys who are pro-social, who are at the top of the hierarchy, but they're top of a pro-social hierarchy. They protect us. They're the warriors. They're the ones that go out there and have a sense of duty and a sense of honor and everything else. There are alphas who certainly have that. They're the guys who are in the positions of leadership in the male masculine dominance hierarchy. Then there's the guys who want to separate themselves from that hierarchy, and in some cases those guys can become Iron Man. They can become Batman. They can set themselves apart, but that doesn't make them a Sigma. That doesn't set themselves apart from that system. They're still part of that system.
They just made a new system.
Right. They just exactly.
Dude, gamer girls, you have the fucking article that says the exact same. Girls do that too.
Mhm.
They can't cut it at the bar scene, so they go hang out with the Dungeons and Dragons crew. Now they're the coolest girl here, or
Well,
red pill groupies come hang here.
Chat is exactly. This is part that I was just about to say this. Thank you for bringing that up. What about the Joker? Is the Joker alpha? Is the Joker alpha, or is he a beta schlub? And that archetype. Now I realize the fantasy character, like going from the most recent movie, with Joaquin Phoenix in it, like is that character the archetype of an alpha? Because he essentially the Joker fits the description of everything we just saw in that Top Think video. Everything.
Yeah. And technically by Vox's, he would fit into, do you remember Omega?
Yes.
Yeah, see, Vox was full of all this nonsense.
Yeah.
He fits an Omega male.
He lives with his mom. Okay. Well, but so maybe that's his way of keeping his ideas to himself and being private. And
he doesn't care if you guys think he lives with his mom.
He lives with his mom.
It's extremely minimalist. He doesn't even have his own house.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. He makes his point by being, by isolating himself. Right?
Just as happy taking the bus as he is driving his Lamborghini.
You could make the case that the Joker is alpha, because you could say, well, okay, he does all these things. He lives by, like, if your definition is if how you're going to say characterize or categorize alpha is according to these particular personality traits, you could make a case that the Joker is alpha, or certainly sigma in this case.
And that's where I argue all of the terms become absolutely meaningless if you start going down this road. Like if we have to sit here and have an argument over whether the Joker is this, that, or the other thing, then those terms are meaningless.
Right.
They should be pretty clear cut, and that's why I love it. Did he attract any girls? Not alpha. Mm-hmm. Did he make any girls want to be with him long term? Not beta. And that's where one other one that I kind of like from Fox, Omega, where he described Omega guys are just, they're missing any of the qualities. Exactly. They aren't able to make girls attracted to them. They aren't make girls able to want to, he'd be a good, like none of that. They're just like, get the fuck away from me, you serial killing, mass murdering, nonsense asshole.
Yeah. Well, I love this too, because what's interesting to me about, and I use the Joker as on the lead on the thumbnail for all of this for a reason, because the Joker is most definitely dark triad personality traits. Let's just be honest here. I don't think anybody can like debate whether or not he's like, let's say Machiavellian, psychopathic, and narcissistic. Okay, I mean, we can certainly make a case for all that. But who's the hero of the Dark Knight? The Joker, not Batman. Everybody wants to listen, especially now. We listen to the memes and the clips that you see from that movie. They're not. Who's the guy? Who's the guy who played it in that movie? The Batman in that movie. God damn.
What's his face?
His name.
Why am I forgetting his damn name? The Welsh guy.
Nobody makes Batman quotes. I mean, hell, even like his butler has better quotes than Batman does. But we all focus on what Heath Ledger's Joker said, because we're like, oh, he's right. I can't believe that he's actually the true. Oh, Christian Bale. My bad. Yeah, Christian Bale was the Batman in that one.
Well, even Infinity Wars, Thanos was the protagonist out of that one.
Right. The anti-hero right now are actually the heroes right now, because they'll tell us the truth.
That's because everybody's a piece of shit, and then seeing the piece of shit as the hero appeals to us.
So
that's great.
Who's the alpha and who's the beta in that movie?
I don't know. Nobody's fucking anybody in the movie.
Yeah,
Rachel dumps Batman. Yeah, and she dies. Everybody's Omega.
Yeah. All right, let's get into Vox Day here. Now, this is where all that crap comes from. So when you go and you see Top Think, or you go say, well, I'm a Sigma, there's even like channels that are dedicated. I think they're called Sigma Males Be One Today kind of thing. Okay. This is where all that crap comes from. All right. This is where the Sigma male bastardization, all of that comes from Vox Day, which I'm about to show you right here. And I don't think he'll have a problem with me putting this up in its entirety, because Vox is a cool dude. So let me put this in.
Welcome to Voxiverse. I'm Vox Day. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about the socio-sexual hierarchy. That may sound complicated, and that may sound new to you, but this is something that you know intimately. It's something with which you've been familiar since you were in school. It's something that you have around you at all times, in every organization, in every company, in every social group in which you participate. The social-sexual hierarchy is how men and boys relate to one another. What you are, how you behave, and what your natural inclinations are likely to be. There are 5 ranks, and they've been developed from the concept that was originally introduced by the pickup artists. The early pickup artists, Royce, Roosh, often talked about alphas and betas. Alphas were men who were sexually successful, men who women were attracted to, men who found it easy to attract women. Betas, in their parlance, were men who were not attractive to women. The sociosexual hierarchy should not be confused with this, even though it sounds similar and even though we use some of the similar terms. Because the sociosexual hierarchy brings in social dominance, social hierarchy. It's not all about male-female relations. It's just as much about male-male relations, the internal concepts that tend to govern an individual man's behavior. So there are 5 major ranks: alpha, beta, delta, gamma, and omega. The top of the hierarchy is the alpha, the quarterback on the football team that the head cheerleader dates, the blonde bad guy in every 1980s teen flick. He is the guy that the girls want to be with and the guys want to be
Cobra
like.
Kai.
So what separates the alpha from other men beyond his attractiveness to women is that he is a leader. He is someone that other men naturally want to follow. What he does, they imitate. When the group is making decisions, his opinion counts for more than others. So there is a natural leader-follower relationship between the alpha male and other men. But this is both a responsibility as well as a right. The alpha tends to be much more cognizant of status than other men. He tends to be protective of his status, and he tends to be friendly to those who acknowledge his status, and he tends to react badly to those he perceives challenges it. With the alpha, as with all these ranks, positives and negatives, pluses and minuses. It's important to understand when you're thinking about the hierarchy that it's not about trying to maximize your position within it at all times.
I wasn't about to get into a fucking big dick competition.
Sometimes it is a big dick competition.
If you're not naturally suited for one particular rank, you're probably not going to be very good at handling the responsibilities if you're put into a role that requires it. So the second rank is beta.
All right,
alpha
let's,
are the
let's,
leader.
let's hold off on that real quick. But when we get to each one of these,
The one thing I do like about, before we get started, I like about this, you guys keep talking about alphas get all the girls. Do you notice how he didn't say anything about?
Right.
He even said it's different. He said it's more about how men interact with each other. So you're worried more about sucking dicks at the end of this thing than getting the girl. Just saying.
Yeah, exactly. And I wanted to also point out the fact that one of the things that I do like people always ask me, oh, you only talk about alpha and beta. Yeah, because I distill things down because I have to do that to get to bigger ideas. However, that doesn't mean I don't think that there's merit to the sociosexual hierarchy. I do. We want to find ways to sort of categorize ourselves. And I think this is put it this way, this sociosexual hierarchies is a useful tool. So, and people are going to ask me this from the jump here. So I'm going to I'll address it right now because people are going to say, well, is it possible to move from one sociosexual strata to the next? And the answer is yes. It just sort of depends on circumstance. It depends on like who you are and your willpower and everything else that goes along with that. There's ways to go to shift. In fact, I think even Vox will address that in this as well. But as far as the alpha is concerned, I'm glad you brought that up, Ryan, because it's not just about like, oh, I'm going to get laid, I'm going to get my dick wet. And that's not what he's getting into here. These are archetypes, are masculine archetypes right now. And remember, men tend to think in terms of hierarchy. At the top of that hierarchy in this context, the alpha is at the top of that hierarchy. He's the general, he's the admiral, he's the one at the top of the chain of command at this point, and those are his.
He's the lead guitarist in the band. He's
exactly
the head bartender at the bar. There's all kinds of tops.
He naturally inspires respect because that's his personality type, and that's where he's at. And so it's not, like I said, it's not just about women looking up to the guy. It's also about men looking up to him and wanting to be him, wanting to be around him, wanting to be associated with him, because he represents something that they are not it's at the top of that. So just so you get an idea of what when we're looking at sociosexual hierarchies, it's not like what the rest of these guys are talking about when it comes to Sigma and all that other crap. They don't understand first of all, the origination of all of this, but they tend to keep things in terms of like, oh, just be your best self, or God forbid, I keep seeing, these infographics about like, oh, all of these guys are special, right? There's the alpha, he's special, and the gamma, he's special, and it doesn't matter who you are because it's subjective, right? Gammas are just as special and great as alphas at the top. No, they're not, and you're going to find out exactly why here as we get into this. So the next one, a lot of people are going to get confused here, so I want to preface this a little bit. When we talk about sociosexual hierarchies, we have the alpha, beta, delta, gamma, omega. The beta is not at the bottom of the list. The beta is actually at the second tier of that list, and you'll see why here in just a second. So.
The betas are the lieutenants. The betas tend to resemble the alphas on the outside, but the difference is they lack the ambition and they lack the status consciousness that the alpha has to have. The beta is almost always going to be found attached to an alpha. The beta likes to be provided with leadership. He likes to be provided with a vision. In some ways, being a beta is arguably the best of the social ranks because it comes with a lot of the privileges of being higher in the social hierarchy.
No. There's two O's in Goose.
Without all of the responsibilities that fall to the alphas. This is why in corporations you often see such a problem when a alpha leader retires, because they frequently try to elevate his loyal betas to the former alpha's position, which almost invariably fails because the beta is not psychologically suited to play the same role as the alpha that he supports. Betas actually tend to be fairly friendly people that it's enjoyable to be around. They're popular with women. They're very popular with women.
Hey, Goose, you big stud!
That's me, honey!
But not to the extent of the alphas.
You always go home with the hot women.
All right, thank you, Carol.
In general, you're not going to see a wife fretting about the loyalty of her high status beta husband the way that she is almost invariably going to worry about her alpha husband.
Take me to bed or lose me forever.
Show me the way home, honey.
Betas tend to be very loyal. Loyalty is their defining trait. The thing that you need to be very careful of with a beta, the one area where you can get yourself in a lot of trouble is if you are disloyal either to them.
Well, I just happened to see a MiG-28. Sorry.
Or even worse, to the alpha to whom the beta looks. They're not only his lieutenants, they tend to be the alpha's enforcers as well. And so when you are in a group, the kind of people who will take you aside and let you know that maybe you want to adjust your behavior a little bit, those are almost always going to be the betas. The third and most...
All right, here we go. All right, let's come back to this real quick. So that's the beta archetype. So remember, we're not talking about, oh, alpha and beta, betas are loser simps. No, we're talking about like sociosexual hierarchies here. So you got to remember that when we're getting into all this good stuff. And then I like this too. I'm going to throw this up there. Too many roles and categories in this little clip. Can we just keep it simple? No.
Yeah, isn't there a red pill thing that does that?
No, we can't. And the reason why we can't is because you end up with crap like the first so here you're a special Sigma male. That's why we have to dig into this, and we have to really understand what sociosexual hierarchies are, because they will be bastardized to use and used and leveraged and exploit you to think that you're something that you're actually not. So that's why I'm putting that out there. Again, you are not a Sigma male. If you're calling yourself a Sigma male, you're not a Sigma male. You wouldn't even have that concept to call yourself a Sigma male if that were the case. Anything you have to say about betas, Brian, in this?
Well, I was just thinking about this whole thing, how it talks more about organization. It's neat. Ian Ironwood expanded on this, where he talks about the sandbox and the swing set, the male social matrix and the female social matrix. You guys really do yourselves a disservice by not checking that out. They kind of explain things like how these guys, like how the alpha handles like challenges within the group. What do you do when the other guy tests you first? He has a great story about this that he took from Married Man Sex Light Primer, the Alpha K stuff, where he saw guys at his house having a barbecue, all the friends and family are over, And I guess this one guy starts busting the guy's balls as he's barbecuing. Oh, you barbecue like a woman and shit like that and whatever. And he kind of laughs it off. He's not really like taking the bait because it's like his house and he's trying to be amicable because women don't like aggressive signs with other men. And that's why co-ed status fights always end up playing a bit differently than when it's just guys amongst each other. So the friend kind of gets a little irked by that. He goes into the kitchen, sees the buddy hitting on the main guy, the guy whose house, his wife. And it's like, well, harmless flirting. And so he kind of takes him aside. He's like, get the fuck out of here. And if I see you back, I'm going to beat the shit out of you on his driveway. And it was just a very interesting story that from one of the guys in Athol K's old stuff that kind of articulated these little status battles in co-ed environments, which I think does users a lot more service as a field report than to sit here and think, well, am I more of a goose or a maverick? So I really do want to give Ironwood more credit than Vox. Vox was great at the 10,000 foot view, but it's really, once you get into the weeds, it's just so much more interesting and applicable.
Yeah. And then I'm going to come back to this. I started this. We'll come back to this at the end. Okay. How would you know where you're at? Because by the time we get to the Omega, you'll know. You will definitely know. So
yeah, you kind of know.
Yeah. All right. Now we're going to move on to the Delta. And the Delta here is sort of like these are the drones. These are like the worker bees. These are the guys who go along to get along. They're the guys who don't have much ambition. Betas at least have an ambition. Alphas most definitely do. Betas do as well. The Deltas are the guys who sort of keep the lights on. So let's have a look at this.
Common group is the Deltas.
The most common group.
The name Delta to apply to them because they are the most liable to move up or down the hierarchy depending on where the group is. Remember, these hierarchies are fractal. Someone who is a alpha in a very small group might only be a delta in a larger group of which that little group is a subset. You know the phenomenon, big fish in a small pond.
Okay, what he's getting at right here is something I've written about and you already know about as well. This is the contextual alpha. So it's the guy who's in the right place at the right time and people look to him. A delta can turn into an alpha depending on the situation. So, if you're in a riot and you're a delta and suddenly you just it's time for you to sort of shine or it's put up or shut up time, then suddenly you become the alpha of the moment. When I did the contextual alpha, I wrote that in, actually, I think it's in the first book or the second book. When I talk about being a contextual alpha, I use the example of the guy who is, everybody looks up to the guy as a leader in the classroom. Like if he's a professor or a teacher or something, suddenly he's the alpha of the moment because he's the one that's directing traffic. He's the one who has command presence in that particular situation. He leaves the classroom and suddenly he goes back to being sort of like the delta or the beta or whatever again. So.
Is not a big fish in a big lake, much less the ocean. Deltas are the backbone of society. Deltas are the most important part of the hierarchy. They tend to define the success of the group. They tend to define the smooth functioning of the group. The more that a group or organization caters to its deltas, the stronger it's going to be. These are the guys who get the work done. Deltas tend to pride themselves, and their defining characteristic is competence. They don't want to lead. They're not necessarily concerned with making sure that the will of the alpha is properly followed. They want to do their job. They want to be respected for doing their job.
Yep.
And
they want 15 rules for life.
More than anything is respect. Now, unfortunately, for society, women are not particularly attracted to deltas. Deltas tend to be the average guy. And of course, as we know, due to hypergamy, women tend to be less than entirely satisfied with average guys. One of the biggest achievements of Western civilization has been the institution of monogamy, preventing the alphas, and to a lesser extent the betas, from hogging all the desirable women. Monogamy, one man, one woman, one husband, one wife, is an excellent way of ensuring that deltas are able to marry and raise families. And this is absolutely critical for the sustainability of a stable society. The harder it is for productive, reliable deltas to engage in successful relationships with women, the more unstable the society is going to be. This is why polygamous societies are intrinsically less stable than monogamous ones, because unhappy deltas are not working away competently at building the infrastructure of society. Now, the fourth rank is in many ways...
All right. Well, the fourth rank's here to really bake your noodle, but we got to talk about the deltas here too, because I think a lot of people will relate with this, I think, because I think a lot of people want to say, well, I've heard that, you've probably heard this before, like people go, well, it's the betas males that keep society running. I've listened to Jordan Peterson talk to, and I can't remember the guy's name, but he's talking about, like, he was a primatologist, right? They were talking about how, beta males make everything go around. There are no alpha males in human societies because the betas will form coalitions and they'll take down the alphas. And it's like patently false. I mean, observably false.
Was he talking with Simon Sinek on this? Because I've heard him talk about this.
I actually have I got it. I could load it up. I have the video ready to go.
And
but
that's such a tame interpretation, because that's where top tier guys kind of realize, like, you take care of the people below you so they don't gang up on you, because people are more social. We're closer to bonobos than we are to gorillas. But that's how our organizations kind of work.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think what's funny is, like, I think a lot of people, especially who want to have, when they take this kind of pro-feminine ideal when it comes to organizing societies, they want to downplay the idea of the alpha male, like to the point where there is no alpha male. Of course, there's an alpha female, right? But they want to downplay that because they want to say, well, it's really the betas that are keeping society working and functional, and the lights on and the trains on time kind of thing.
Yeah, but they don't take blame.
Yeah. Well, the other part is this, is like, they'll say, well, what happens is the alpha males, if they get too strong, then the beta males form coalitions and they tear them down and they bring them down from the micro to the macro. And I'm like, I can see that. I understand what that concept is. The problem with that is that once that alpha male has been brought down, the toughest, most alpha male of that beta male coalition then takes the place of that rival alpha, and it starts all over again.
And he's smarter. He realizes, okay, so I got to make sure I get 80% of the women. You guys get some women, so you're happy. Or make sure you get a good paycheck. Make sure you get a good wage. Simon Sinek talked about this a lot, where it was like you get the first cut of meat, but you're also the tip of the spear. Like, you have to offer something to keep them on your side. In your case, it's when there was danger coming, you're the guys out there. And there's a great argument that's why in 2008 is where we saw kind of how the feminine imperative removed that masculine top tier hierarchy away, because in 2008, economy crashed. So what you would expect is everybody put up with these billionaire financiers, the masters of the universe, right? Because, okay, you're in charge of the economy, you take on all the risk, and you can have great benefits from it. And then what happened when shit went south, they didn't do what you're expecting them to do, is kind of, fall on their swords, essentially. But instead, they kind of weaseled their way out of it and like, well, it's nobody's fault. Everybody's... And that's where people started to get this, like, real understanding of how, as you put it, the feminine imperative causes actual damage from a societal standpoint. It's kind of, I know, it's a little outside of red pill. I just find it kind of fascinating.
Definitely is. And from a sociosexual perspective, I mean, when we're talking, like, when he's talking about, delta males and stuff, these are the guys who go along to get along. They're not very, ambitious, but they do want respect, and they do want recognition for the work that they do, right? They want the plumbers union, we're the best plumbers union there is, right? We keep the lights on. We do the hard work. We do whatever, we go out and we do an honest day's work for an honest day's pay, right? And we shower when we come home from work instead of shower before we go out to work, kind of thing. And yes, you do deserve that respect. You do, like, when we talk about, like, I love it when guys say this, they'll talk to feminists and they'll go, look around you, go look at the streets, look at the buildings, look at everything. A man built this. Yeah. A delta male built that. A guy, a delta, a beta, whatever, built that. It's not so much maybe some other guy had the vision for it and designed all of that, but yeah, pretty much men are the ones who built society.
I still love that argument. Oh, a man built that. Well, let me just suck your dick then. Thank you, sir. Well,
the problem is the men who built that, who want again, it's like that want for recognition, that want for respect as a person who is, involved in the day-to-day life, the salt of the earth guys, the guys who aren't draped over a freaking Lamborghini, the guys who have to go to work every day and get on a tractor in the Midwest somewhere, those guys who are keeping the lights on and keeping the food and everything else, in the heartland or whatever, those guys, they might not have the ambition to live a luxurious lifestyle, but they do want recognition for what it is they do, and they deserve that recognition. I would argue. The problem is that when somebody says, "Well, look, a man built that," yeah, the guys who put the work in, the guys who are the day laborers, the guys who went there and laid the bricks, the guys who went in there and did the construction for all of that, and that's not
laying the pipe.
Exactly. Laid the pipe, man. And that's not glamorous. That's not sexy in the Instagram age. And so I think that's a lot of the major frustration that guys have is it's not. I think the guys who actually do that, who actually are out there laying the pipe and laying the bricks and doing all that stuff, the guys who want to take credit for that are the guys who want to build sort of this masculinity brand off of the backs of these guys.
Yeah, just as useless as the feminists that didn't build the bridge either.
Right. I didn't build that shit. I'm be the last person to tell you I did. I do know the people who do. And again, I think the red pill needs to be applicable, and it needs to resonate not just with the guys who want to fly in a private jet. It has to resonate with the guys who are on a tractor in Oklahoma somewhere. They do have tractors in Oklahoma, right?
I should hope so.
You know what I'm talking.
Actually, yeah, I do.
The guys who are the Delta males, and that's you want to know what the bigger problem when it comes to gender dynamics and it comes to intersexual relationships right now is it's the guys who are not getting that respect, although they're going to work every day and they're busting their ass every day. And they're also not those are average men that average women don't want to get with. In fact, average women believe that they are entitled to an above average guy, and that guy is not the Delta male.
Yeah. Well, that's where you get, like you said, the three, sub-tier dudes picking on the main guy. That's where you get shit like that GameStop. That was a bunch of small chimps fighting the big chimp because all these financiers took all the risk, didn't take on anything, kept all the fun money.
Coalitions.
And like you said, if they don't benefit the people below them, the people below them come up and rebel. And that's why you're going to see these, or like incel shooters, or all these little things. It's like I have an article, ask your doctor if Thotrazone is right for you. It's that we've kind of, the way things are made right now, and we're all pushing to where we want all the authority without any of the responsibility, feminine imperative stuff. And so a byproduct of that is going to be disenfranchised guys rebelling against the system in increasing ways. Arab Spring, elect Minisan in a horrible example, or, the GameStop things, all these little examples, guys that are just leaving corporate work. What's that? The great retirement or whatever. People just aren't going to work.
Yeah.
They don't need to. Yeah. You're going to get more of this so long as these things are kind of pushing in this direction. And I will argue it's not so much red pill as it is sociology. Because somebody in here probably calls himself a Sigma male. It's like, it's not that deep, dude. It's like, yeah, well, once you get into sociology, it's humans are a very complex species, and discussing the science of how 8 billion of them interact, it does get complicated. Yeah. And then I'll put this up here again real quick. We're not an ant colony. No, we're not an ant colony. That's just it. That's why it's that deep. Yeah.
That's why it's that deep, because we're much more complex than that. Can we move up and down in ranks? And as Vox just said a minute ago, yes, you can. In fact, the person who is more likely to move into another rank, either to go back to a gamma or to go up to a beta, is probably going to be a guy who's a delta. And as I said before, the guys who are amongst the sort of great throngs of deltas can become alphas of moment. Right? These are the guys who are, go off to World War II, and they're just sort of like, they're doing their duty because that's what they're told that they have to go do. And then suddenly they step up and they lead the squad after the squad leaders got shot. Right.
It still has nothing to do with getting laid. Bill Gates, arguably an alpha in many different spheres. Not one of them, other than Epstein's Island, provides him any sexual benefits.
Yeah.
Just saying. Allegedly. I don't want to get you all Bill Gated.
I promise. Okay. These are gammas.
The most intriguing and troublesome one, and this is the gamma. The gammas tend to be more intelligent than the norm, more sensitive.
Of course he was going to use Peterson.
Perspective. Now this all sounds positive, and there are definitely positive traits to the gamma.
You got a problem, friend?
But the problem with the gamma is that the gamma is fundamentally unsatisfied with his position in the social hierarchy. Gammas often believe that they should be in charge by virtue of their intelligence. And this, of course, tends to make them extremely disruptive forces in any organization of which they're a part. So whenever you see someone causing trouble in an organization, whenever you see SJWs infesting it and attempting to force change on a healthy organization, you can be pretty sure that the men involved are going to be gammas. Now there's a lot of different attributes that we could discuss, and I will do a video focusing entirely on
that. Sounds a lot different than that other video you were showing for describing gammas.
The most important thing to understand is that the chief characteristic of the gamma is his dishonesty.
That month, I didn't sleep for 25 days. I didn't sleep at all. I didn't sleep at all for 25 days.
The gamma is dishonest with himself. The gamma is dishonest with others. And even worse, when he is called out for his dishonesty, he will usually defend himself like a cornered rat.
How is that possible?
I'll tell you how it's possible. You lay in bed, frozen in something approximating terror for 8 hours, and then you get up.
Rather than simply admit that he was being dishonest. And so what that means is because of that characteristic dishonesty, the gamma also tends to be conflict avoidant and passive aggressive.
I was being professional.
He replayed weak, conflict averse.
So there is a natural rivalry and a natural dislike between alphas and gammas. When you are running an organization, or when you're responsible for an organization, the gammas are always the ones that you need to manage very closely because they are the most likely to behave in a disruptive manner, and they're also the most likely to simply melt down and cause problems of an unpredictable nature. Gammas tend to be disliked by women, whereas women are more or less indifferent towards deltas. They actually tend to be somewhat repulsed by gammas.
Answer me one question. Yes, you're a total fag.
This is very frustrating to the gammas because they actually tend to be the romantic ones.
10 things I love about Janie.
They tend to be the ones who will obsess over a particular woman and write her poems and fail to understand that the strength of his desire for her does not cause her to desire him in any way. You know, introspective is one word for the gamma, narcissistic might be another one. However, for all their challenges, gammas are still part of the social hierarchy. Gammas usually do find a woman with whom they can have a successful relationship in the end. The fifth rank is the most tragic and difficult.
All right, so we got that. Did you catch that part? It was like women describe the gamma as like somebody that have this uncontrollable urge to like punch in the face. Right?
Yeah.
And I want to point this out because I got to tag the Secret King onto this section right here when we're talking about gammas. So now you know what when people say, "Oh, that's very gamma or omega or whatever." This is where all this comes from, children. So keep this in mind. I will put I'll put the link to Vox's breakdown here in the description once we're done here. But I think it's important because I think a lot of people see like the gammas is sort of like the classic beta. He's the guy who overthinks shit. He's the guy who makes the Excel spreadsheet. Every time he can't get later, he goes and he petitions girls. He tries to take this really logical, reasonable way with women and
Men built this bridge.
Exactly. And so it's very male deductive reasoning when it comes to gammas. And the gammas tend to believe that their specialness, their uniqueness, not unlike the Sigma, should be appreciated by women or society at large because they're more intelligent. And logically, they would deduce that they should be the ones that women would want to get with because they're more intelligent. They have better. They're loyal to a fault. They're romantic. They want to be involved with that chick. It's kind of like I'm glad he used those 80s, schmaltzy 80s movies like Pretty in Pink and all that for the examples and all this because those like what is it? I forget the guy's name. Those characters, those gamma male characters, pretty much epitomize the gamma archetype, and they tend to be confused. They don't they're intelligent, but they don't understand why it is that they're not at the top of the heap. Right? They don't understand. Like logically, I'm the best guy for you.
Actually, you know what? There's an article on this. There was a red-pilled article. I can't remember the guy's name. He was one of those like the one thing he did. He talks about it in his article called "Stop Spouting the Rules and Play the Game." Mm-hmm. And he uses a basketball reference. The guy who gets like dunked on, he goes, "Oh, that's because you pivoted left instead of right." And the other one, "Oh, okay, that's because I traveled there. That's why I got fouled." But he's so busy like telling you how he knows exactly why he's losing, but still can't play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Another field report too, same thing, where guys are talking about like I'm really good at reading people, but they aren't able to capitalize on that knowledge to like interact and be socially savvy with it, or as we would call it, being autistic. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where it all comes from. It's guys, they're able to see the game being played, but they don't know how to play. And I think that's where the resentment comes from. It's like, I don't get it. I've read every book I needed to on how to play the guitar. Why am I not Yngwie Malmsteen?
Why am I not a master of all of this stuff? I got to throw this up here too, because this is the definition for Secret King. Now, this is sort of an addendum, I think, this came later after this. Gammas will, okay, so these are the qualities of the secret king. They are gammas who will actively pick fights they can't win against higher ranking men. This is because the secret king can't accept that nobody appreciates his value, but being feminized, they don't really understand how men handle conflict. Their risk assessment is faulty, like a belligerent woman screaming, "You can't hit me, I'm a girl," before she's decked on World Star Hip Hop. Gammas can't back down from these fights because that means admitting defeat, which goes against the secret king belief. And the secret king belief, by the way, is that nobody, like, I'm actually the top of the heap. Gammas will come with, like, I am the obvious choice for women. I'm the one that should be reproducing with the most women because I am
the president of the manosphere.
I'm president of the manosphere. I'm more clever than you. I don't understand why these stupid women don't get with me, and they tend to go with the alpha. They want to just bang the alphas all the time, and they think they're entitled to them. That's secret king. Also, everything is personal. Being feminized. So rather than slink away from a beating, they have to keep running their mouth to keep getting beaten up. Okay, these are the classic guys that get bullied. Okay, gammas will lie, spin, and employ sophistry to maintain the illusion of winning when obviously losing. The evidence doesn't actually support the winning, so it's avoided, but they don't realize how transparent their defeat actually is. Gammas use the feminized debating tactic of tackle the man, not the ball. They will directly insult in order to create bad feels because they project their own fear of bad feels and assume their opponent is similarly wounded by it. So those are the aspects or the traits, I should say, of the sort of secret king variety of gamma males. And we're seeing the reason why this is a thing is because in the age of social media, you see these guys coming up. There's a guy. What was the meme, Ryan, where the guy who's like, he's like standing aside at the party and like, these guys would want me. Or in a perfect world, they should really be with me. And like all these girls are getting with like the alpha guys. What was the meme for that?
I can't remember what it's called. It's the party one where the guy's sitting in the corner of the party where everybody's having fun, saying if only they understood that XXX.
Yeah, if they only understood how smart I was or how like what
I put on one of them, like, they only understood I was really a good father.
Yes. And I think that, I think amongst all five of them, I think the gamma is probably the most frustrating for guys to be in because they tend to be very intelligent, just like he was saying. Like they tend to be the computer programmers, or they tend to be the innovators. They tend to be the guys who actually are like remember what they were saying in the Sigma thing? It's like they tend to be contemplative and they keep their passions to themselves, and they're pensive and whatever. I
almost want to say more savantish than intelligent. Like they have, like I said, they can understand the game, but they aren't smart enough to play it. They're missing that one key. The one piece. There's another meme. The one thing that was missing. Application.
Yeah, and you're right. You know what? You are absolutely 100% right. Isn't that kind of what you guys are doing? Yeah, it is, because we're breaking this down and we're detailing it. The difference.
Wait, what am I doing?
Well, like, aren't we like dissecting everything? Aren't we just like aren't we? Luke, check out the big brain on Ryan, right? Aren't we doing that right now by even coming up with sociosexual hierarchies? Does that not make us gamma? And I would argue this is that just because we know it, just because we have maybe at some point we were, maybe Vox Day, you could make an argument that Vox Day was gamma. I don't know, because here's the other thing is you can move throughout that hierarchy. That's the difference. It's one thing to be gamma for a while, particularly if you're in high school and you go, oh, now I got it. Now I figured out. Now I understand why it is that women are attracted to the alpha male. Now I understand. Yeah.
Actually,
now
this is a good Rollo, because Hitler drinks water and you and I drink water.
Oh my
Therefore,
goodness.
we are also Hitler.
Didn't he breathe oxygen too?
Oh, we're so screwed.
Men by let me also explain this. Men by nature we're problem solvers. We're deductive problem solvers. We need a problem to solve. We need a bridge to build. We need a car to fix. We need something else. You want to know why guys are so more so than women are focused on a purpose? Or we say, like, we got the Lost Boys generation, and the real reason why they're, jerking off the porn and, smoking weed and ordering Uber Eats in their mom's basement is because they have no problem to solve. They have nothing set before them, and there's no incentive for them to do anything because everything's been done for them, or at least they think that everything has been done for them. And so when you have a society that's built I should say rapidly developing, and an underclass of men who have no purpose. That's how you get the lost boys. That's how you get that. You want to know why the college enrollment rate for women is like 60-40 right now, or depending on the major. It's because men are purposeless. And so they need to find some sort of way to, some sort of problem to solve, or some sort of function or purpose in life for them to, sort of pursue after. That's the number one question I get from guys. Like, how do I find my purpose? How do I motivate? How do I get off my ass? What should I do, Rollo? Should I go to the military? Should I go into college? Should I get a trade? Should I do this? Should I do that? Tell me what my purpose is. Tell me how to live. And I'm certainly not going to give that to you. But the fact that there's a question in the first place shows me that men are deductive problem solvers. We need something to do. As I said before, women, when they say, oh, I don't need a man, but I want a man, right? Well, that I don't need a man, all that does is feed into the guy who has no purpose to begin with. So if I'm not needed and I'm superfluous, that sort of makes me rudderless in life, and I don't really know where I'm going to go or what I'm going to do. But there is that nature, that masculine, that conventional masculine nature that wants a purpose and wants a problem to solve or something to build, right? Something to do, right? Thinking outside of yourself. Men tend to be more interested in things. Women tend to be more interested in people. And when we take those things away from men, we make them purposeless. And so as a result of that, we've got these guys who are intrinsically wanting to solve those problems and wanting to have that, deductively, reasonably do so. That's where that gamma influence comes from. Let's make a spreadsheet out. Let's analyze this. Let's figure this shit out, right? Yep. Whether or not they use that and go, oh, I get it. They want to get with the hot guy because he's got muscles and he's, it doesn't matter if you're smart or you're not smart. Those guys are going to be the ones who are going to get laid. Now I can learn game and I can go and at least ape the behaviors of the alpha male.
Which is exactly how pickup started. Mystery literally watched the dudes getting ladies, wrote it down. All right, let's try this stuff out. And he A/B tested the human condition.
That's why I keep saying the reproductive problem. The reproductive problem is how to have kids.
He practiced playing the game. He didn't just sit here learning the rules all day.
Right. Or he didn't complain about the game not accommodating the player, which is what we just talked about a little while ago.
I can't believe I have to do a time constraint and an opinion opener. These bitches, man.
Right.
Don't they know that we built this bridge?
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Fucking guys.
All right, Sigma. I'll throw this. I'll give you this one too. Like, game is weak. Okay, no. Game is social skills. Game is learning the social skill, and it doesn't have to necessarily be like, how do I get my dick wet? With this whole thing, sociosexual hierarchies is not just about getting your dick wet. It's also interacting in society. So game is not weak when we look at it in terms of social skills that most guys who have no purpose fundamentally lack in these last two generations. That's why this is important, and that's why you dissect this. So yeah, you could make that case and say, well, you guys are just like scientists and you're just, yeah, you know what? Do you want to know why women want to punch guys like me in the face? Because I'm analytical. I'm not grooving with them. I'm not vibing with them. I'm not like speaking the emotional language that they want to hear from a guy who's a hot guy that they might potentially want to fuck. I'm presenting it in rational, reasonable language, and that for which they have no real counter argument to. That's why Myron causes such a ruckus on those shows, is because he's speaking the language of empiricism and they're speaking the language of emotionalism.
I'm going to use an example here of the alpha, beta, gamma dynamic, as cringe as it is. So this is Rollo's channel. He's obviously the top dog on it, and I'm the loyal sidekick. And then this guy makes the challenge at the top tier guy and won't let it go. And so I'm enforcing the loyalty thing, and now Lone Sigma is out of the fucking channel.
There you go. Live. You saw it here live.
Practical example, guys. But, I know it's goofy too, but this is how this stuff plays out. Mm-hmm. Amongst men in groups in the military. Dude, we had that. But the thing is, like, military cops business, Athel K talks about this. I think it's there's formalized institutions that have this. Again, military, the captain's top, he's the alpha, you're all enforced as the things. The lower deck guys are the deltas, the gammas are the guys in there causing strifes, and that's why you have a military prison system. That's formal, but with relationships it's very informal. So you have to, it's like it ebbs, it flows, you have to jockey for position, it always is there. And it's a neat thing when you realize this is why it's all complicated, because some groups are formal, some groups are informal. You're part of multiple versions of all of them. And the good thing that separates you from being the, you know, gamma male in this situation is to know how formalized your situation is, how to jockey for position, how to take an L when you need to. And this stuff isn't easy. If it was easy, everybody here would be socially savvy and Rollo wouldn't have a book job. And I wouldn't be sitting here running my mouth here. And so, yeah, it's not that deep, man. Well, I mean, if it wasn't, you wouldn't be here. Yeah. Because you're all very smart.
And let me explain something else. Something else. I'm looking at 1,274 people watching right now.
That's a lot.
When I do a show on, let's see, Will Smith smacking Chris Rock across the face at the Oscars, I get 5,000 views. Okay. So here, what's the level of importance and what's the level of interest? Okay. So when I do something on Chris Rock or Will Smith, then y'all lose your minds because it's red meat and he wants to sensationalize all this stuff. I give you the steak. It's not the sizzle, this is the steak. And now it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess it's cool. I guess
you know how much shit my girl gives me for not talking about the Depp Heard trial right now?
Yeah.
She's like, why aren't you talking about this? I need a new purse. I'm like, fuck.
You know, I said this yesterday on Roll Zero. I say, once she takes the dump on the bed, the show ends. What do you say after that? Where do you go with that? You go nowhere. You're like, oh, he should have got out at that point. You see a big, Cleveland steamer on your bed. You're like, okay, I guess she's crazy and I'm done. Like, if that's not the conversation, then I don't like what else. What show?
How about when she chopped off his finger? How come everybody's on the shit on the bed, but nobody's like, hey, remember when she removed your finger?
Yeah,
it's like, oh, you can sew it back on, but the sheets are ruined.
Dump on the bed. Yeah.
Yeah.
What? All right. This is the last one. This is the Omega, and I think this is probably the most important one to think of because these are the guys that lose their shit, and these are the guys that turn into like that guy that went and shot up a school just recently. So,
Frank, it's the Omega, and the Omega is the quintessential social reject.
Excuse me.
The Omega is the one.
Excuse me?
Who is not even in the game where women are concerned.
Okay, but that's the last straw.
Yeah, whereas the Gamma might be the one muttering in his beer to his friend in the corner at the party, nobody ever even thought of inviting the Omega. The Omega is literally never there. And Omegas tend to creep women out. Just the mere fact of them being around, even if they don't say anything, is often upsetting to women. They're not necessarily incompetent. They're merely socially handicapped, usually in multiple ways. Omegas can be the classic school shooters. If you look at Adam Lanza of Sandy Hook fame, he would be an obvious example of the Omega type. Omegas tend to keep to themselves. They don't tend to have many male friends. They don't tend to have any female relationships at all. Most of them live.
You might have to be careful. I think that's the taxi driver theme in the background.
Although, as was shown in the movie Office Space, they do occasionally snap. When you hear about the quiet guy who never bothered anyone, who suddenly flips out and burns his company building to the ground, you can be highly confident that you're dealing with an Omega. Now, why do these things matter? Why do we talk about these ranks?
Here we go.
Is it to make the alphas feel good about themselves? Is it to make the Omegas feel bad about themselves? No, not at all. The reason that the social sexual hierarchy matters is because the patterns of human behavior it identifies allows us to recognize, understand, and anticipate the behavior of other individuals once we have successfully identified their rank in the hierarchy. Not only that, but you can use the hierarchy to avoid obvious problems in your organization or your group. For example, if you happen to hire a young, attractive female intern, do not assign her to an alpha, especially not if it's a married alpha, because the chances are very, very high that they're going to have an affair. By the same token, you probably don't want to assign a gamma to manage a group of people, especially a mixed group of people, because gammas tend to view power as a chance to make up for all their junior high and high school frustrations. They tend to look at power as a way of getting back at people. And you can see this in practically any of the pieces that have been written by male journalists about the confirmation of Judge Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh, being an athlete from an elite prep school, represents the much hated jock alpha to the gammas of the press. And you can see and read their psychological issues coming out on the page as they attack this guy that they've never met, who's done nothing to them. It's not all ideological. A lot of it is psychological, and a lot of it is rooted in these sociosexual hierarchical issues. The more that you develop the ability to identify the traits of your own sociosexual rank, the easier it is to modify your own behavior and optimize your own behavior. It's especially useful when you're dealing with others. I make use of my knowledge of the sociosexual hierarchy on a regular basis in my business relationships. I know that I need to be careful about inadvertently challenging an alpha. I know that I need to make sure not to say anything disrespectful about an organization for which a beta is working. I also know that when I'm dealing with deltas, I need to make sure that I give them the respect for their competence and their hard work that they need. And with the gammas, I always make sure to not put them in mission critical positions just in case they have a gamma meltdown and elect to declare war on the organization. These patterns of behavior are very, very reliable. They are very, very recognizable. And once you begin to see them, it's very, very difficult to ignore them. I think that if you study the groups in which you are a member and you learn to start identifying who's the alpha, who's the beta, who are the deltas, who are the gammas, what you're going to find is that you're going to be able to navigate the social challenges presented by that group in a much more effective manner. This is Voxiversity. I'm Vox Day.
There you go. Gosh, I
wish
notice
nobody talks about this part of it. They always bring up all the initial part, but they forget the part that involves work.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, and then that's what I mean. I don't know what a Sigma dude in there. That's why this is important. That's why we talk about this. It's like, oh, you guys are just nerds. Is it really that complex? Yeah, it is actually that complex, and it would behoove you to understand this so that you can maneuver in with this knowledge. I mean, why are you not better off by knowing this than not knowing this? No, I don't understand as far as the sort of this resistance to this, because I think maybe it is just simply you don't want to hear uncomfortable truths, because what this does is it forces guys to accept whatever station they seem to think that they're in at that time. Now he's done other, I'm not going to get into them, but he's done other videos in the past where he's like sort of like he did a full gamma video here.
There's a whole series shitting on Peterson, if you guys are into
that thing too, and he's got a book that's shitting on Peterson as well. But he classifies Peterson as a gamma, and puts him in this situation where it's like you could even make the. I've asked him this before. I've talked to him live several times. I asked him back. I think it was in 2017, 2018. He has a book out called Jordanetics, where he was like, sort of going over why Jordan Peterson is just sort of like this I want to say fraud, but certainly a charlatan, like in his estimate, right? Mm-hmm. And I was asking him, I said, do you think that he is a secret king? And he said, in some ways he is, and in some ways he's not. He's simply not going to be. He's conflict avoidant, so it's not like he's going to go and start shit with people. But when he gets caught, when he gets kind of busted, like he used that clip of Peterson and Rogan there, and he's claiming that I didn't sleep for 25 days, and Rogan's like, get the fuck out of here. Who are you? And
I always took that as like exaggerated flair. A lot of people say that nobody's actually running you up a flagpole,
Right. Nobody's actually throwing rocks at Rollo. Rocks at me.
So I usually give a pass on that stuff, but I'm not. Yeah. Anyways, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off.
It's okay. It's the literalism too. That's another thing I should say is you look at the literalism of gamma males. And I'm glad he made the distinction between omegas and gammas, because I think actually, deltas might be the most common, but gamma male guys of that mentality, I think, is flourishing in the social media age right now. Oh, the guys who are the black pill doomers, the guys who, and a black pill doomer, a black pill the most extreme end of MGTOW. I know that there's more other, but the most extreme end of the doomers, the doomsburgs, the black pill guys, those guys tend to be not necessarily omega, although I'm sure there are, but they tend to be the most extreme end of the gammas. and they are almost uniquely secret kings. Like everybody should recognize how awesome they are, and women should throw themselves at them because they're clearly the logical choice that women ought to be with, because they'll do everything in a manner that is rational and reasonable, and they just don't understand why women don't want to get them or get with them, or they don't understand why women want to feel this uncontrollable urge to punch them in the face, because they're constantly speaking the language of rationality. Nothing wrong with that. The only problem is when you're trying to get with a woman, they're not speaking rationally; they're speaking emotionally. So how do you navigate that?
Plus, girls have experience. Like, as much as you may think I'm a good guy, girls have dated 100 dudes, and 90% of them are pieces of shit. And I bet you anything that same type of like gamma male personality is the exact same guy who's like most likely to smack her around for like getting out of line. And how dare you make fun of my penis or something, some stupid shit like that. And they've just learned avoid as soon as they get even a hint of that. So I think that's kind of why.
I use this as an example. Once I learned this like early on I've learned it before this, but like I kind of came back to it when I went on Fresh and Fit and Hotep Jesus was on there. And I like Hotep Jesus he is way smarter than I think a lot of people really give him credit for, because when he's talking, he runs his businesses and he does his whole spiel very efficiently. But when you put him in a social situation where there's women in the restaurant or they're at the table with Fresh and Fit,
he turns it on.
He fluidly turns from being very rational and very like pragmatic and very practical, and he can vibe with the girls. He speaks perfect, like emotional ease, like womanese, right?
He knows how to play the game.
Exactly. And so when you see him doing that, they go, oh, he's schmoozing, he's simping, he's what? No, he's not simping. He's playing the game at a level you don't even have any awareness of, because I know how he is when he's not at that table. I know how he is when he and I are on a show together and we're talking, nuts and bolts. And then we get on there and they put women into the mix, and he understands that you have to like talk to them.
Plausible deniability.
Yes, exactly.
Innuendo. Keep it subtle. Keep it simple. Play on the body language and downplay the words.
And then when I'm on there, and I'm explaining the dynamics of what's going on, I turn into the gamma, right? I'm Mr. Wizard. I'm the guy who does all the studies, and he knows primatology and endocrinology, and he's a neurologist, and he knows sociology and anthropology.
That drives me nuts about you, by the way. I was like, as a red pill thing, I would love it if you just went on, as soon as you start talking to chicks, just be charming and affable.
I do.
Like when I went on the Savvy Rates, that was my one goal on there. Like, they're not going to give a shit about gamma males. I'm just going to go on there and act like the sane person in the crazy nest.
And the minute I do, and I go and I turn on the charm, I've been on if I go on, like, you could just go look at the last 2 or 3 months of me being on Fresh and Fit, where I'm hanging with girls and rubbing up next to them, and they're like, they're loving on me, and I go, will you marry me? Will you marry me? That kind of stuff. When I'm doing that, I'm vibing with those girls. They understand that. But when I break character, then I can turn into like, Rollo Tomasi, the technician, and the gamma guy who keeps his spreadsheets in his head kind of thing, and explains what's going on. When I turn into that, all the everything dries up. The love and everything. Oh, you're a smart guy. Yeah, so you're not actually who I thought you were. You're a smart guy. And that's what I'm talking about. Like when I'm on there and I'm talking about this stuff, and say like Hotep Jesus is on there and he's vibing with the girls, and I'm speaking the language of reason and rationality, that's never going to get you laid. So when guys say, Rollo, should I tell women about the red pill? Not the ones you want to get with. That's for
well, why would you tell any of them?
Yes, never.
Just tell them that men built that bridge. That's what you want to do.
Right. And that's so when I get this. So right, when I do that, what do you think I say? When I'm hanging on these girls, or we have this back and forth, or they're rubbing up next to me or whatever. What do you think I say? Oh, you're simping for those girls.
Oh, well, yeah, you can do anything.
They think, oh, I got him. He's actually really a simp. No, I'm playing the game. I'm playing along with all of this. I'm playing with her, and I'm playing with her.
Imagine how stupid this space is, where you be socially adept in a situation, and they're like, got him.
Right.
Out of all the things to attack to somebody for, he could string a sentence together and smile. That motherfucker.
Exactly. He can be charming when he wants to be. Yeah. You know why? Because I've worked with women pretty much my whole life and my whole career, whether it was in the casinos or it was in wine and spirits. I know.
Wonder why I hate this space.
You only see me on this show like for like 4 hours a week, where I'm like, okay, we're gonna break this down into evolutionary psychology today. You know, well, that's not gonna get, that's like anything I'm telling you right now is not going to get you laid. Game will get you laid. Your looks will get you laid. That if that's your objective goal, then learn how to speak that language. Learn how to vibe. Even
how to play the game.
Even though you know in the back of your head, I know I'm playing a game. Like I haven't. It's like breaking character.
It's
kayfabe.
It's like,
yeah, exactly.
Pro wrestling. He's not actually Hulk Hogan. His name is Terry. He's not Americana. That's not an Ultimate Warrior. Well, he changed his name, but yeah, it's all theater for the audience. Yes, the wrestling is real. Then people get hurt, and a chair across the back still hurts. But it's all theater. Yep. And the girls want the theater. They want the fantasy. They want the illusion.
Yes, they want to.
So why wouldn't you give it to them?
They want to know the whole thing. They want to know that you just get it.
Yeah.
They want a guy who just gets it.
That's, by the way, it's my best video, my kayfabe one, because I make a reference to game as basically pro wrestling. And that's, for some reason, the best analogy for guys to understand what I'm talking about when they think about it from that reference.
You know what? When you do that, because you probably get the same thing I do. The hate comes from guys who are saying, well, what, I got to be fake all the time? I got to play a character. I can't break character ever.
You're not allowed to swear at work, or you're like, you guys are fake. I can't call everybody cunts in the office. It's tact. You act differently. If an officer comes up to you, do you start running your mouth, or you're like, no, sorry, officer, I didn't know how fast I was going. You act depending on the situation. It's not an inauthentic you. It's just you adapting yourself to a situation. What's the thing? You are what you do. Men aren't what we want to be. We aren't what we think we are. We are what we do. Yeah, when you're talking to a cop, you act polite and respectful, and you say, I'm reaching for my wallet. It's not a gun.
Yeah, putting my hand over the top.
Yeah, when you talk to a girl, you're not like, excuse me, let me explain how your dopamine levels have slightly increased because I asked you the opinion. Like, no, it's not the real me. Well, no, it's the real you. You can't be anybody else but you.
Kingsley,
at least I hope not.
Salmon in your AV right there. Are you sounding like a Secret King Rollo? I know he's just kidding here. I got it. Okay, but you understand what I'm saying. Like, I can't go. I can't even put like joke around in the chat on Fresh and Fit about the girls that are on there. Like, there's this one girl on there. She's like demon girl, right? She's got done her eyes up, like literally has her eye like whites tattooed. She's got like fangs and everything, and she's like covered in tats. And I'm going, man, she's the kind of girl I'd want to ruin my life for, you know, right? I want to get on. I want to get on that. She looks like she'd be a great wife. I want to get on with her. And guys think I'm simping. They think I'm serious when I'm doing that. And I'm like, dude, come on, man. Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Let me get to some of these super chats, because a lot of these got away from me real quick. Hey, Rollo, can you comment on the ligma males?
Don't fall for it.
What is
don't
that?
Stop, don't no.
I don't know what it is. No,
ligma balls.
What am I missing? Oh, ligma balls. Got it. It's probably John. It's probably Cappy is who that was. What type of men that is in these? What type of men that is in these modern times?
All of them. That's how we organize. We organize in these broad categories.
Right. Which one do you think is the most rare? The guy who's like the alpha male, right? It's the guy who
you only need one or a few of them.
I put this up several times. I don't think I have it handy, but like when I talk about how women, I mean, you can see this statistically. Earlier on, people go, well, where is your statistical? Where's your cite your sources? Well, one of those sources could be the 80-20 rule sources, which is if you look at women online and you look at women's dating habits and what it is that they are looking for on Hinge, Bumble, Tinder, all that stuff, they find 80% of men unattractive. So that 80% of men is most likely in the beta, the delta, the gamma, and the omega classes right there. Okay. Now, maybe the beta males in this terminology, in this vernacular here, maybe you could classify some of those, the top level ones, as more being in the 20% as well. However, they're not the 4.5% of men that women find attractive enough to actually initiate a conversation with on Tinder, Hinge, Bumble. So it's actually worse than you think, gentlemen. It's not just the 80-20 rule. It's like the 80% are the guys that women find unattractive. Okay. That means 20% are like, he'll do. But the guys who they really want to get with enough to actually initiate a conversation with, those guys are 4.5%. And we can definitely identify those as the alpha males because those are the guys that women will bend over backwards to get with. So we can break it down in those terms if you really want to put that, but we're talking about modern times and everything. I would argue that the 80%, at least the 80%, are in the beta, the delta, the gamma, and the omega classes right there. So those are the guys that women just simply don't want to have anything to do with. That said, I also have to point out something else that I put in my my fifth book, and that is the creep. And the creep can be, by the way, I think people like think of creeps as like sort of the omega guys, and definitely they give the creep vibes, but gammas also give the creep vibes too. You could also say deltas to a limited degree could also give you the creep, give women the creep vibes. And I should probably do a full-on dedicated video about the creep, but just in a nutshell here, the reason why women get creeped out by guys who are especially omegas is the fact that they represent sort of a risk to life and limb. And they don't want to be around. Like for us, for instance, like you and I, Ryan, when we think of a creepy guy, we think of the guy who lives in the van down by the river, right? We think of the guy who's like the kitty toucher. We think of the guy who's like the really, maybe he's the psycho killer kind of guy. When women think of the creep, they think of the guy who's going to remove their sexual selection, who's going to essentially rape them, right? It has the potential to do that.
Oh, I don't want to get raped.
And then, you don't either. Yeah. Okay. But as far as the creep is concerned, women's creep, detection is much more refined, or it's in a different context than it is for guys. Like there's guys I find creepy. Don't get me wrong, but like women have a different, I think, definition or a different like experience of creep.
Well, I don't think they have a harmless. Like we have, he's kind of creepy, but he's harmless. I don't think they have that distinction.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for women, it's, and then the other thing is that when guys come off as creepy, it also sort of triggers the hypergamous filter. When a guy, you want to know why gammas annoy women so much is because they think that through reason and Excel spreadsheets and databases and their understanding, and they're trying to sell themselves as being you should be the one, I should be the guy that you are reproducing with. And let me give you reason A, B, C, D, E, all this other stuff like I'm this, I'm loyal, I'm this, whatever else. The fact that you have to go there and plead your case right there seems like you are trying to get past that hypergamous filter. And essentially what that is you want me to have any sex I would have with you would be non-consensual because it's not based on my feels. It's based on your selling me on the idea of having sex with you. And if that's the case, then if there's no feels, there's nothing else involved in that. That's why you want to know why gammas are unsuccessful with women. It's because they think they should be successful with women. They sell themselves based on rationality and logic. And women are like, he's trying to trick me. He's not somebody I want to get with. I can't argue with him because he's actually right, because he's got all these great qualities and he would do all these. He probably actually would do all of this shit.
The heart wants what it wants.
How dare he? It's like trying to arrange a marriage. It's almost the same kind of creep level of like having your
actually, a really good one that kind of gets guys to understand it? When they're pissed off and angry, tell them to calm down. Have you ever calmed down when you were angry and somebody told you to calm down? This is exactly the same idea that telling a girl, well, you should love me if she's not feeling it.
Yeah. I should be the one you should actually be with, but she can't help the fact that she really wants to get with Brad Pitt, right?
And what will calm you down is a 6'5", 300-pound pro wrestler who's like, hey, dude, calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
Now you calm down.
Now you will. Yeah. Now it's in your face and you can't get away from it.
Yeah.
But I think too many guys, particularly guys who are in the sort of the gamma classification, don't realize that they're even coming across as creepy because they think in the terms of like, well, men and women are just the same. And so therefore, if I'm rational, reasonable, and intelligent, she should be too, or else any girl that I should get with would be that way. And so therefore, if I make my case in enough, PowerPoint presentations, then she'll want to get with me. And they don't realize, and then that's why they turn into secret kings. They feel like they're not respected and they're not appreciated, and that they don't understand why the girl naturally feels this impulse to punch him in the face. The reason for that is because he comes off as creepy because he's trying to sell himself as somebody who is going to be the perfect match for her.
Mm-hmm. So, and he could do the work. That's the worst part. Is do the work is like A/B test things. This should work. Well, did it? It didn't. Well, then maybe it shouldn't work. Right. Maybe the problem isn't that they aren't doing your part. It's that you have understood the problem incorrectly. Sometimes it's like
have vibe.
Yeah, sometimes it's a bad axiom. The guys are like, I'm a good father, I'm a good Christian man, they should like me. Well, that doesn't work. So maybe it's those initial assumptions you made that are wrong. But then that implies that a guy has to check his ego. Okay, so maybe me working so hard at being the godly good father with the nice house and car thing, maybe that was a bad identity and I shouldn't have done it. And most guys can't accept that. In fact, our brains are kind of wired to it. I think that's why I make the argument that you kind of have to get zeroed out. Because until you get that fight or flight response, your brain actually doesn't have the neuroplasticity to change those core identities very much. It's until you have to interpret it as a fight or flight response. Like your world is crashing down to the point where your brain's like, all right, wipe all this shit clear. We got to figure it out. And then they finally like look at things the way they actually are, which is kind of why the red pill metaphor works the way it does, I think.
I think so too. And I also want to point this out as well. Is like when I was making the illustration of me being on the show with like, say, Hotep's there vibing with these girls speaking that language, right? I'm Mr. Wizard and nobody wants to get with the gamma.
Does anybody other than me get that reference, by the way, of Mr. Wizard?
Probably not. Like, no.
I used to love that show.
Bill Nye the Science Guy. I don't know, whatever. You know. but I turn into the guy who like analyzes shit. You just overanalyze. You should just live it. You live your life and just go for it, kind of thing. Stick your head back in the sand. Yeah, well, I do. But that's the thing is like that's the vibe that women get from me when I'm on there with the guy like Hotep Jesus. But here's the deal: is the guys who are the gamma males who are very analytical, who never make that transition. They never really realize that they need to learn how to play the game and play with play with her and play with her. But that what they think of is they think that if they have to do that, I shouldn't have to learn game, Rollo, because they should just want me for who I am. It's like, again, it's the secret king. They feel offended that they would ever have to like be anything other than what they really are to actually impress upon that woman that, hey, I know how to play the game. I know what this is all about. I can actually vibe with you. And if you're a guy who is like very analytically minded and you're very like, say, let's just say gamma male, if that's you, the best thing you can do actually is to learn game and accept that. Most guys don't want to do that because it's like it means like trying to like pretend that they're actually something that they're not, when in fact all they're doing is learning those social skills so that they can interact and they can understand the nature of women. What did you say? Who was it who said this? Like you can either love women or you can understand women. Like you can't do both.
Oh, that's like some author, not Don Juan, but like one of those things that everybody would know. Probably Oscar Wilde. That seems like the kind of shit he would say.
But see, that's the thing is like people think that they're being disingenuous with themselves, or they get very self-conscious because they're like, okay, I know the game, I'm playing the game, and I can't drop character, but goddamn, it's working. You know, and that's what really kind of shocks them out. Let me get through these real quick because I know you got to go. Rollo, my men, if a man has alpha qualities, strong mind and body, and likes to be in solitary state most of the time, having his own land, family, etc. Okay, yeah. Again, alpha's contextual as well. So you got to remember like the alpha that's in the Midwest and Oklahoma is not Don Draper in the ad agency.
I think your son's missing the point though. Like even Vox at the end of it said, the point of this isn't to like come up with infinite amounts of hypotheticals. It's just keep it in the back of your mind when making decisions.
Right.
Like I say, if you're going to join a group, you see some guy that's got those gamma traits, like case in point, Anthony Johnson's a wonderful example. Because he booted you from the thing. He didn't boot me.
Destroyed his own organization along the way because
but as soon as I saw that was my my first thought was like, that's like a gamma male explosion. So I'm like, dude, thanks for the opportunity. We're gonna part ways right now, and that's where I left it until he started talking shit. Then I'm like, here's the screenshots of me basically telling you thank you, no thank you, and then you like being a bitch about it. So that's when he started leaving me alone. He's like,
Viking Paradigm. Thanks for the show, Ryan and Rollo. Thank you guys for keeping me sane. Shout out to FNM. Yeah, you got it. Anytime, my friend. And then let's see what you got here. Does functional autism come from social conditions or brain chemistry? That is
what was that thing you sent me? Was it late-term pregnancies or SSRIs or something?
It is this right here.
Fuck, you had that on speed dial.
Yeah, this is loaded up the whole time. So this is Autism and Developmental Disabilities Monitoring. So this is the increase since 2000, and this goes up to 2016. I'm sure it's higher by now. But that spike right there from like 1999 to 2000. You have to like this is one data point. You have to like correlate this against other data points. What was happening societally during 2004, 2010, 2014?
The Matrix movies and Fight Club.
Exactly. This is okay. So either there's two possibilities. It's always been like this, or we're just now diagnosing this in a different way, or something has actually happened. Like actually there's some people want to say it's SSRIs. Oh, women are having babies later. That's there's a lot of ways. I don't know whether it's a physical thing or if it could be a societal thing. The other thing is, are we diagnosing autism differently than we did, say, prior to 1999? Yep. Is it because of social media? Is it because that has stunted our sort of social skills? And that's why I say game is a social skill.
Is it nurture? Is it nature? Are these things that we consider factors? Are they correlated or are they causation? There's so many questions and nobody asked that.
Yeah.
Because Ritalin is way more profitable.
This was really good. And I won't read the whole thing, but it's like secondary psychopathy in high school boys positively predicts future dating involvement. This, according to this study right here.
We're doing the dark triad study now.
Well, that's for another show. But I want to point out that like just because like you're like a gamma or you're delta or you're whatever, there's still personality traits that women are going to find across the board. They're going to find those things attractive, whether you're alpha or you're beta or whatever. So like I was saying before, there's different types of alphas, right? There's the Captain America and then there's Iron Man. Which one do you think has the more dark triad traits? Probably Iron Man, right? Because he's Machiavellian, more self-centered, whereas, Captain America type alpha is going to be a little bit more community, like pro-social, let's just say. But we can't deny, we can't not look at that data point and not look at this data point here. So let me grab those other ones. So I got to that. I don't know about functional autism. Quite honestly, I'll try to find out, but I do know the stats of autism have increased. So.
Luckily for him, in the chat, 20 different people have given me the singular reason it exists. So have them duke it out and come up with the final answer. They'll hook you up.
And what is it? Feminists,
everything.
Feminists.
Well, that's me. Autism. That's me fucking around.
Yes, perhaps it is. Yes, my friend. It was all those evil feminists. Yeah. Okay. What's this one? Anthony Finiciano. Call it Sigma, whatever. The world is supposed to mean someone who is successful and not conforming to the tribe. There are a lot of ways successful guys advancing their careers but not conforming. And we're seeing this culturally.
Yeah, they're all conforming. The tech bros, they don't wear a suit to work. Yeah, but they're all not wearing suits to work, and they're all talking tech, and they all live in Silicon Valley. It's like goths went against the system. It's been old as time. Goths went against the system, so they all dressed alike and hung out together. So don't give me this whole, they don't touch the group. Yeah, it's just a different group.
It's tribalism. And then you got to also point out that when we talk about tribalism is not, it's a feature of human nature. It's not a bug. Like that's because we're tribal is like one of the cornerstones of the success of our species, actually.
That's how kind of we grew too, because we can only make 150 people, give or take, as a tribe.
Yeah.
So when they came up with religion, the idea was you could expand that tribe. Now everybody who's part of the religion is part of that same tribe. And then nationalism, same thing. Everybody who's part of America is American. It's kind of like these abstractions we use to allow our tribalism to expand the amount of people we can accept in a tribe, because otherwise our brain just can't process.
Well, exactly that. And then the other thing is, like I was saying before, when beta males form coalitions to tear down an alpha male, what are they doing? They're tearing down the guy who's in charge of that system. They tear it down, they break it in half, they do whatever they got to do, they depose the rival, and then from amongst the ranks of that coalition, then arises the next alpha, and the process starts itself over again. So you might think you're a maverick, and you might think you're a goth, you might think you're like outside the system now, until everybody says, you know what, I want to be like that James Dean, and I'm going to start dressing like him and putting my cigarettes over my shirt and riding a motorcycle. And when everybody is super, nobody is super. And so, and then the cycle processes itself all over again. It's just simply the way the machine is built. Ryan mentioned gravity. Just wanted to say that Newtonian physics does break down at a certain point and is not applicable within certain contexts in a black hole, for example. Love the new
I know he wants to fuck with me, and I don't like it. Well, technically, Itchy and Scratchy where's that magical rib?
I need a sound drop for actually.
Fucking guys.
Actually, already working on it. But I'll check it out. Okay, thank you very much for that. This one is Reno's a neat little town. It's the biggest little city in the world, my friend.
Aw.
Yeah. Those who claim they are Sigma are the ones who seek validation, qualification, acceptance, and approval from themselves or from a woman by default.
Well, they're like MGTOWs. They need everybody to know that they're MGTOW.
Yeah, secret king. I want recognition. Well, I mean, remember, deltas want recognition and respect above everything else. And then, so if you go
but for what they do,
down, yeah,
I'm good at my job.
Yes.
I'm competent.
Let's see. Can you be introverted, an introverted loner, and still be alpha? I think so.
Sure.
What if you don't like the responsibility of others and just want to do your own thing? I'm thinking of another one of these labels. Okay.
That's how they described the deltas. They didn't want the responsibility. Betas didn't want it either.
Right, exactly. And I was also going to that wasn't even a super chat. That was actually a pretty good ask right there. Mm-hmm. I would say that the reason why we want sigmas is because we're trying to sell guys on this idea that the system should change for them and you're actually a winner when you're actually not a winner. But if you can subjectivize everything and say everybody's not playing the game by my rules, and if they were, I would be the winner, then you're going to buy the next Gumroad course. How would you know where you at? I don't know what that.
I get like, how do you know if you're alpha, beta, or gamma? I mean,
how do you know where you're at?
If you understand all the things, look around you. If you realize that there's one guy you're deferring to and you're on him like a mad dog, well, maybe I think I'm the second in command, the beta guy.
Are you
if he does the worker drone and you don't really care, then I mean, it's not hard.
Yeah, you can figure it out on your own, really.
Mm-hmm.
Newbie Crypty, you guys are making the world a better place and collectively raising our IQ. Much love. That Top Think video popped up on my feed a while back, and you guys have given me clarity. Thank you. You are welcome. And Arigato says, how do you know when a woman is insulting you for the shit test and you should roll with the punches versus when she is straight up disrespecting you?
What else are you going to do? Are you going to cold cock her? Come on, dude. Yeah.
So if
she's flirting with you, that you're supposed to assume.
Yes, always, especially like I think I wrote about this in book 5 is I don't think enough guys really realize that a shit test is actually an opportunity. Mm-hmm. Women don't shit test guys that they're not attracted to. They want to find out whether or not you're the real deal. That's how you can you want to know how you can tell a difference between a shit test and some girls just like get away from me, fuck you. You know that's just that kind of disrespect. Is she attracted to you? Is she giving you grief? Is she trying to be the bratty sister, or is she actually like, just saying, get away from me, you creep?
I always put it this way. Let's say some 4-year-old calls you a big poopy head. What do? Do you drop kick her through the wall, or do you laugh and then give her a noogie and tell her to keep going? Yeah. It's like, the girl is straight up disrespecting me. Dude, who cares? Dude, that girl called you an asshole. I know. Now my reputation is ruined. I'm a gamma. It's like, even if you aren't top tier, this is what top tier guys do. They don't care because it's not a threat to them.
Yep. Aren't these hierarchies that Vox Day is presenting actually helpful or helping understanding where you stand in a group of guys, or who plays what role in other male groups?
Yeah, yes. Isn't that what he said at the part? Like, why do you need to know this?
Yes, that's the thing is like these are not just about getting your dick wet. This is about like developing social skills. And remember, game is not just limited to the girl that you want to bang in the club, right? I mean, it's also you're developing an understanding of female nature, and you will use game with your mom or your niece or your aunt or your female supervisor. You're not going to bang them, but you still need to know their nature and understand the nature of game so that you can interact with them better, and then you leverage that to your advantage. Dung is fun. Have you seen the new Batman? No, I have not. The Riddler got the people just like him to do his bidding. Is he an alpha of a group of outcasts? Contextually, I would argue he probably
technically is. Yes.
So I can't really say.
It's nice. It's kind of, I know Razor Fist hates it, but it's kind of got the old Detective Comics vibe to it,
I see. Rollo, how do we book a session with you for advice? You actually go and email me at rtrationalmail at gmail.com, and then make sure you put counseling in. It's very important. Put counseling in the subject line, because that's how I know because that goes to a different folder if you do that. So please do that, and I will be happy to talk to you. And then what else? I got a few more here at the last minute. I met many alphas who turned to bullies. That's pretty much a defining characteristic.
Yeah.
Many betas who have success with women accept that the gammas they hate, their position of the others are fine.
They fuck with you because you let them. Mm-hmm. And to be fair, I don't think a lot of the bullying is because they don't like them or they think they want the status boost. Mm-hmm. A lot of it's just the same challenge as like a shit test from a girl. Because I've seen this before. My best friend from the military tried bullying me my first day on board, and I just stood up to him and I told him to piss off. And he's like, ever since then, I liked you.
Yeah, you got to push back. Exactly. Yeah. Go hit the biggest guy in the prison yard, or you're going to be his bitch. That's essentially what it comes down to. The other thing is this: is I don't think enough people like when I talk about bullying, enough people don't understand like the nature of bullying. Like what we were talking about before, how like beta males form coalitions to tear down the rival alpha. Right. The reason why alphas bully lesser guys is not because they're like, oh, he's insecure, he had a rough childhood, and there's something wrong with him. No, evolutionarily speaking, alphas have to do that, or they have an instinct to bully because they want to make sure that there's no insurgency or collaboration amongst the betas to tear him down. That's exactly what happens in primate troops. The bully is the alpha male, and he beats the shit out of the lesser apes because he wants to make sure that no coalitions come to work against him. That's the nature of bullying.
You start.
So. Yeah. All right. That was good. This was actually a productive conversation, I think. And you've got to go, so I'm going to go. What do you got going on? I've got a few announcements, but what do you have going on, Ryan?
Oh, for me, I'm keeping it simple. Somebody asked about, like, where do you guys getting your sources from? Dude, my series Mids Watch, that's on my channel right now. There's 84 scheduled. It's literally 7 years of me reading field reports that guys have been doing, swapping notes. The whole point of this stuff. It's ASMR. It's a C-SPAN thing. I love it. And then there's Chick Talks where I kind of laugh about it, whatever. But honestly, the big thing I like doing now is the gaming channel. Like I said, I'm really turned off by the autism in this space. So I just got a group of guys. You've seen Misha in the chat. Call ourselves the T-Rex Army because, semen retention. If your arms don't reach, then you automatically win. No Fap November. It's fun. We're making it entertaining for streaming, getting the younger demographics who like watching streaming stuffs. So yeah, come on in, check that out, the Digital Ryan channel. But then there's always the main channel. It's mostly just about some guests. I'm actually going to get somebody who's been around the red pill longer than me coming in here, hopefully next month, Yui McGill. You guys are going to love it. He is like old enough that he came from like the old Athel K forums. He remembered when Rollo was just like a forum poster. So it'll be really interesting to see. And then, yeah, beyond that, just check out the channels and that. I try to keep it simple. And the second book is coming out when I get it finished. I'm now the Rollo who's making excuses why it's not out yet.
Hey, man.
So that bought me 6 more months of like, it'll be soon. Now.
Yes. And by the way, if you want sources cited, just go ahead and check out my 4th book, Religion. Everything in there is cited. But let me explain something else here. Is like a lot of people go, well, where's your sources, man? Where's he coming up? This is Athel K. Or not, excuse me, this is Vox Day. And again, does any of this sound illogical to you? Does any of this not pass the smell test as far as like deductive reason? If you think that this is wrong, I'm open to it. I'm not gonna give you okay, this premier scientist Dr. David Buss came up with all of this and he approves of this, and there's like 9 different meta.
Yeah, there's no authority at the end of the chamber.
And even if I gave you the studies, and even if I could like find something to back all this up and go through all that work just so that you would be satisfied by it, does it seem logical? Does it seem deductive? Does it seem like whatever? Right? Maybe it's counterintuitive to you. I don't know. Find me a study that says it's not, right? But here's the thing: is can we not have this conversation about this? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this whole thing is just bullshit. Yeah, that Vox Day was pulling out of his ass. But you know what? You're still hearing all of these channels talking about, maybe you're the most unique type of man. You're a Sigma male. You're not asking them for fucking citing sources. You're asking me for citing sources. I'm showing you where this came from and where they're grifting off of. That's that's the reason I'm doing this right now.
Try it out. And if it works, continue. If it doesn't,
does it pass the smell test? Is it deductive? And if not, then fine, come at me. I don't care. Like, I don't think the delta is the right thing. Okay, what is it? What would you like to talk about? How would you like it to be? Okay. So, I mean, if it doesn't pass the smell test, I'm not telling you to like join my fucking religion, man. I'm just saying, look at this. Have you not experienced this? Do you not see these archetypes throughout, the movies that that Vox Day uses in this? Do you not see this play out in popular media or even in stories as far back as the Iliad and the Odyssey, man? I mean, do you not see those particular things? So, are we talking about wheat waffles?
No, we are not.
No, we're not talking about.
I refuse to talk about with people who don't fuck about fucking.
Wheat Waffles is a scammer, my friends. He's tricking you, by the way. Wheat Waffles is a good-looking kid, man. He could go and get laid if he wanted to. In fact, every time I listen to him or I see anything that he does, and he's like trying to appeal to sort of this black pill, MGTOW, doomer community kind of thing, I go, this guy's either really brilliant or really like dumb. And I think he's probably really brilliant. I'm actually complimenting Wheat Waffles. I think your grift is actually fantastic because to me, it seems like he just learned this language and he's like, okay, here's how I'm going to get. I thought, honestly, did you not think this when you first heard him? Did you not think this was like facing LMS?
I've never heard him. I have no idea anything about him other than Troy won't stop talking about how he's black pilled, and I'm like, fuck the guy.
I was like, did they rebrand? Like, is this Coach Black Pill? He just rebranded as Wheat Waffles because to me it sounds like the language is almost exactly like that.
See this guy here, Wheat Waffles is a plastic surgery student, so he's a 21-year-old student who's got it all figured out and talks about not fucking.
Yep, absolutely.
Why in the fuck do I want to waste time talking with him? I'd rather you debated Pat Stedman on Upstream Twitter.
Yep.
Why? What does he offer that's any use whatsoever? Well, he's smart. Well, are you stupid? If you think he's so smart, you debate him.
Hey, Rollo, have you ever thought about publishing in a scientific magazine?
That would go well.
No. Performing own studies. I think the red pill is an empiric, data-driven approach to intersexual dynamics. I do too, my friend. But the problem is it's so multifaceted that I would have to get a doctorate in anthropology, sociology, and neuroscience, endocrinology, you name the ology, and I would have to figure out how to do that for any of those particular fields to take me seriously. People have asked me this. They've said, like, Rollo, why don't you go back to school and get your master's or your doctorate in psychology? And then people would take you seriously. I'm like, well, I'd be 70 by the time I got all that taken care of so that I can be taken seriously by a guy named Wheat Waffles.
Yeah.
I don't think so. No. When are you guys going to talk about the different pills?
No.
What pills? What would you like me to talk about?
The black and golden, green
white
and
golden.
No.
And no, aren't we? Shouldn't we be in a post-pill society right now?
I'm not going to talk about fucking third wave feminism either. I'm not going to talk about structural engineering. There's many things that I have no interest in, and people dick riding the most unattractive space in the internet top that fucking list.
Yes.
This place, you heard it. This place is autistic.
What pills?
People are stupid. Why would I want somebody who's like, I could emulate that?
The black pill, the white pill, the God pill, the Spurg pill, your mom pill.
Dude, I hate 80% of the people in this space.
What's the orange pill? The orange pill's crypto pill, right? Is that what it is?
I remember yellow is about non-consumerism.
How did ideologies get to be pills? That's what I want to do.
It's because they dick rode on the least attractive space on the internet.
This is why I don't want to talk about pills.
Look at that. Dude, this is the trailer park of social media.
Using astrology, Sigma tactics. So the Sigmas figured that shit out.
I bet she's got a hydroponics plant just off screen to the left.
And don't forget, these are your stats, guys. Before we leave, these are the stats. Yeah. Okay.
Pro tip for you guys: never show up shirtless on your fucking live stream unless you're a fitness influencer.
How long do you think it took them to come up with this shit?
What else are they doing? They're not fucking. And they got tons of time.
Yes. Okay. I'm just gonna leave you with this because this should be your lasting imagery.
Yeah. It's like Lord of the Rings guys come up with Lord of the Rings lore, but they didn't like Lord of the Rings, so they made this shit.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Speaking of made up shit, Player's Handbook, Red Pill Guide to Game. This is the number one bestseller in dating. I think it's down to number 4 right now. But I got to push that bitch off the top. That the chick who wrote Why Men Love Bitches. I'm so happy I pushed her off at least for a couple of weeks. That was great. It's now available on Kindle and paperback. You can also go, and it's in the description down there. You can also, by the way, and again, once more time, so everyone understands, Audible's coming at the end of June. Trey is doing the read for me right now. He's in the process. It will be done before July, put it that way. So it's on the way. There is your answer. And this is the awesome cover by Dave Laro, by the way, that artist who did the
I like it. That rusted metal late 90s look to it.
You got to go look this guy up. It's davelaro.com, DAVELARO.com.
Oh, you've told me him before,
artist.
Didn't you?
And he's a reader. Now he's definitely a friend of mine. And he does like sort of found art, like sort of sculptures, but they're also like, picture kind of thing you can hang on your wall. I'm actually going to buy one of them because I just love his stuff so much now, especially after this. So DaveLaro.com. Go check out Dave Laro. He's got, and by the way, Dave Laro did me a huge favor. I don't know where he found these. And I've got them sent. They're over here on the desk over here, but he sent me a box full of like letters from GIs in the World War II to their girlfriends back in the States. And just reading this with a red pill lens, I almost want to write a book about because I got
you technically did, really.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I did, but I mean, like make a picture, like do an analysis of these things, like what was going on. I think people, if you had an idea, like your grandfather who was deployed over in Germany or in Japan, in Guadalcanal or something, is sending these letters back, you would not believe just how red pill all those letters really are. I got to do a show on these once I sort of parse them out a little bit further. But he did me, like, he sent these to me. He's like, you will probably really like to read these and do a show about them, and I definitely would. So definitely go check out Dave Laro. He's a good dude. I think that's it for today. I will be doing a midweek around Wednesday. If you are part of my Patreon group of guys, I will be doing the May. The May meetup, the May Zoom call will be on May 31st, Tuesday. I was going to do it Monday, but I figured everybody's on holiday. So it'll be on Tuesday, May 31st. Nothing like the last minute, but I've been really busy this week. But we will be doing it then, same time, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. If you're not in that group, you can get in on my Patreon. It's the top tier on my Patreon. That gets you in for a 2-hour Patreon just Zoom call and talk, and you can ask me questions, and other people will be able to help you out as well. So that is going on my Patreon. Check that out. Also, be sure to get the new book, book 5, the Player's Handbook, and was Odysseus beta on Troy and Sigma on the Odyssey. Odysseus was alpha, I think, pretty much throughout.
Pretty much. Wasn't that his whole thing? Like conquering stuff with the power of reason?
Yes, he was simping for Penelope, though, right? He didn't bang the sirens, so I don't know. Maybe he missed out on that. I follow the Sigma stuff, and the first video was cringe, in my opinion. You should do another show going into more depth. This wasn't 3 hours. Wasn't enough depth for you? Okay, I love your shows. I love you too, man. I love you. Aww. I love you too, Ryan. All right, maybe that's simping for Ryan. I'll simp for you anytime, my friend. Thank you for joining me. I'm glad we had you on here because I think you're a lot more entertaining than people give you credit for.
It's good. Critically undervalued. That's the meme.
Yes. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. And I am going to take us out on the. Where is it? Oh, I got to do this. Hold on. Where did it go?
No, we got dead air in the thing. I got to fill it with some babble.
No, you don't have to fill anything. I just have to push this out here. I'm going to cover us up, and I will see you later. Ryan, thanks for joining, and I'll see you next week.
Alpha male out. Yeah.
You're taking, let me take this off for a second. You're going to do Rule 0 on Saturday, correct?
Yeah, it looks like it.
All right.
I think, did we already have whatever. We could talk about that offline.
We did it. All right, man. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Preceding podcast has been The Rational Male. All rights reserved everywhere. Thank you for listening. See you next week.